Like to whistle on that and go do do do.
Actually don't know. I did that instinctively. I don't know. I really don't know.
But see, in your subconscious, you were whistling.
There you go.
See there you go.
Power of music, isn't it?
That's the power of Greg Hughes. Yeah.
Power of music. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, bye.
Alright, that's Lee Gooch there, whistling off into the sunset till he sees you tomorrow morning at 9. It's the 9 till noon show now, though, and it's Good Morning with the latest news update to Donald Kavanagh.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Donegal today, Thomas Pringle is calling for an independent inquiry into instances of sexual abuse at the Ardgraney Court complex in Stranraer after it emerged at the weekend that 11 more cases have been referred to An Garda Síochána. It's believed the cases occurred between 1991 and 2002. They were unearthed after the HSE internally published a second validation report following last year's partial publication of the Brandon Report document. The British government is set to publish its plans to scrap parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol at Westminster today. It claims legislation will not break international law, but Sinn Féin says it will be a dangerous attack on the Good Friday Agreement. The IFA says it's vital any change to the protocol doesn't interfere in trade between the North and the Republic, particularly given the level of cross-border trade in both directions, particularly in border counties like Donegal. The IFA's president is Tim Cullinan.
Approximately 40% of the milk in Northern Ireland is processed here in the south, and on the other side, we have live cattle, almost 100,000 cattle a year now, going north of the border, and similarly with pigs and sheep as well. So it's important that all those flows of trade can continue.
A mix of policy measures will be needed to reduce the number of people in poverty by 2025. That's according to the ESRI, which is calling for increases in payments to working families and those with children. The government aims to have a consistent poverty rate of 2% or lower in the next 3 years. However, the ESRI's Dr. Karina Durley says if that's to be achieved, a number of measures are necessary.
I suppose not surprisingly, the main takeaway is that there is no silver bullet to reducing poverty. So we have options. We have lots of options. So on the employment side, we can reduce barriers to work through the provision of affordable childcare, elder care, and other sort of things that would really prevent people who want to work from actually going out to work. And this will decrease poverty rates somewhat.
Letterkenny has reached its highest ever position in the Irish Business Against Litter ranking of 40 towns and cities. The town's been deemed cleaner than European norms. It's ranked second in the country after Naas. With more, here's Donna Marie Doherty.
The surveys that inform the rankings are carried out for Ibel by Antashka. The Letterkenny report is particularly complimentary about Letterkenny University Hospital, the Bernard McGlinchey Town Park and the area surrounding Letterkenny Retail Park. The report says the hospital has been a littered site in previous surveys, but that is not the case this time round. The retail park, it finds, wasn't just good with regard to litter, it was a very freshly presented and maintained environment. The report says the Bernard McGlinchey Town Park wasn't just beautifully presented and maintained, it was spotless throughout. Letterkenny Bus Station is also highlighted as a top ranking site. In general, IABL says there's a reduction of litter across the country, particularly in terms of masks and other PPE. However, they have expressed concern about the prevalence of single-use coffee cups, saying it's time to consider a levy.
With the forecast, sunny spells and well-scattered showers today. Top temperatures 14 or 15 degrees Celsius, moderate west to southwest breezes. Staying mostly dry tonight, but it will be a little drizzly and wet in places in the west and northwest, with top overnight temperatures 9 to 11 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news in full at 10 o'clock.
Attention all staff. Clean up on aisle 4, please. That's a clean up on aisle 4. And Jacob, who's popped in for a pint of milk, has diabetes.
We don't always know who's at risk from COVID-19 and other viruses, but we do know how to protect them. Keep hands clean and wear a mask. Let fresh air in, get vaccinated and stay at home if you are unwell. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And it's a very good morning, start of another week, 4 minutes past 9, Monday the 13th of June. How are you keeping? How was your weekend? I hope it went well for you. If you were working, I hope that went well for you too. We've a packed show today for you, as always, and hopefully when we say that we do follow through on our commitment. But we want you involved, of course. Get involved in the conversation. Have your say. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text that number, 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Comments come to us via email, comments@highlandradio.com. And don't forget, you can always watch the programme when you choose. You can go onto our website, highlandradio.com, and watch us there. Just click through the links or go straight to our social media. And don't forget to give our pages a like there if you don't mind, the YouTube channel in particular, and our Facebook pages. And you can also hit the notifications bell, and it will tell you when we are going live, not just on this show, but throughout the course of the week here on Highland Radio. All right, later on in the programme, Brendan Devaney will be in with us. He's obviously going to be discussing what's coming up in his podcast, but also interest to get his views on Donegal's performance in Clonus yesterday. What do you think of it? 086 60 25,000. There was a definite turning point in the game, wasn't there? But there was more subtle changes throughout the game, I think most notably from Armagh, that turned that game. And then, of course, once the game was lost, the score almost becomes irrelevant, but not completely. What next? What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Have your say on that and so much more besides. Coming up tomorrow, we'll be speaking to Gareth Brooks as well, by the way. Just to let you know, he will be joining us to discuss his upcoming concerts. Many of you going to them in September. And that and so much more besides. Right, let's get on to the Derry People Donegal news. This story is, it's beyond shocking, you know, what's going on here. And I think we're up in arms, but are we up in arms enough? Not literally, of course. But we'll read the story here from the paper, and we'll be talking about this through the course of this programme as well. Donegal TD is calling for an independent inquiry into HSE-run centres in Donegal following the emergence of a new report that claims at least 40 intellectually disabled residents of a Stranorla care centre were subjected to ongoing sexual assaults by more than 10 perpetrators. Now, this is horrendous for 40 people, but you can imagine, and some of them are going to be listening today, to the families and friends and loved ones of these people who thought they were in a safe place, a place of care, and yet they were there suffering these crimes against them. Thomas Pringle made the call after a report in the Irish Times about the assaults in the now closed Sean O'Hare unit in St Joseph's Hospital, the same centre that was the focus of the Brandon report. The assaults dating back to 1991 occurred in the same centre, where a separate review completed last year by the National Independent Review Panel found upwards of 18 intellectually disabled residents had been subjected to at least 108 instances of sustained abuse by residents given the pseudonym Brandon between 2003 and 2016. As I say, something very, very serious going on that we need to be talking about and getting to the bottom of. The Derry News this morning, Sinn Féin Foyle MLA Ciara Ferguson insists the family of Paul Witters should not have to wait any longer for truth and justice. Ms Ferguson was speaking following a decision by the British government to release material from the National Archives related to the death of a schoolboy killed by a plastic bullet in Derry. On to the national newspapers now, and another issue we'll be talking about a little later on. Boris Johnson, he's going to plough through with his plans to introduce a protocol override. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will risk a trade war with the European Union by today introducing legislation to override the Northern Ireland Protocol and break the withdrawal treaty he negotiated 3 years ago. Now, this is all on him, you know, because even as we were going through the pandemic, the EU reached out to Britain and says, look, we can delay this, you know, until such time as we get through the pandemic and see the state of our economies and what have you. And I presume there could have been a further delay given the impacts on the economic impacts of the war in Ukraine. But no, he's insisting on going through with this and insisting on going through with this unilateral decision and all the consequences that might come with it. And yet the the economy in which he's of which he is control of continues to shrink, and the consequences for Northern Ireland in this is going to create uncertainty. There's a bit of certainty there now, but once they start tinkering with the protocol, or even beyond that, it's going to create such uncertainty that businesses will go, well, we can't operate in that environment because it's too uncertain, and they'll go elsewhere, and that's all very worrying, I'd imagine. But anyway, he's insisting on going ahead with it. The bill's expected to give ministers the power to scrap checks on goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, and to remove the requirement for businesses in the north to follow EU regulations. Under pressure from Eurosceptic Conservative backbencher Mr Johnson's understood to have included clauses in the bill that explicitly disapply British domestic legislation ratifying the withdrawal treaty. Right, on to the Irish Independent now. Green light for thousands of pensioners to get hikes. This, on the face of it, seems like good news. Thousands of pensioners are in line for badly needed increases in income to help them deal with rising inflation, thanks to a change in revenue rules. The pensioners affected are those with annuities that have a cost of living rise built in. It comes after the Irish Independent exposed how some insurance companies that are supposed to cover rising prices weren't paying cost of living increases for the schemes. The companies were restricting what are known as escalator rates for annuity customers because they claimed revenue rules restricted the increase they could pay. Now, I don't know how many people would have annuities. I haven't really heard much about this previously, by the way, but the headline suggests it's good news for an awful lot of people, but I don't know if it really is. I don't know if many people listening to this programme will get benefits from that. These annuity schemes had been sold to thousands of people as part of their pension plan to guard against the effects of inflation. But the move by pensions firms to limit inflation escalator payments sparked a revenue probe. So if you have one of these schemes, it's good news for you. For the rest of us, I'm afraid no good news there. The Irish Daily Mail tells us that relations between Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are crumbling as Leo Varadkar seeks support to slash taxes. Now, this doesn't surprise me really, because I suppose, Leo Varadkar transitioning into the position once again of Taoiseach, really we're kind of probably in election mode, if not already at that point. And Fianna Fáil obviously again not performing very well in the polls. Fine Gael continuing to gain some momentum, but of course Sinn Féin far and away ahead of both parties, even when combined. Interestingly, by the way, the latest indications show the Social Democrats have zero support. But anyway, Fine Gael is to table a Seanad motion this week seeking backing for its tax-cutting agenda. The move comes as Sinn Féin surges, with a poll published yesterday putting it on 37% and edging towards single-party government. The shock result leaves Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael engaged in a grim battle for survival. Intriguingly, the paper says, in the wake of leader Mr Varadkar's outlining of tax-cutting agenda, Fine Gael is up 3 points to 23%, edging ahead of Fianna Fáil on 22%. And although the Taoiseach's increasingly independent stance has fueled tensions within Fianna Fáil, his party, let's go to page 7, his party is to ratchet up its increasingly independent stance on the next budget, with a Seanad motion seeking the support of the upper house for Mr Varadkar's proposals. Right, on to the Irish Daily Star. Did you know that communities can no longer access information to see if convicted sex offenders are living in their areas? It comes after the Department of Justice told the agency in charge of keeping an eye on these people to stop publishing annual reports. That means the exact location of sex offenders following their release from prison is no longer available to the public. Data showing the number of perverts living in specific geographical areas have been published each year by the Sex Offenders Risk Assessment and Management Agency. Now, my understanding is that it wasn't really that specific in terms of counties or specific counties or areas within the county. But anyway, it showed there were 173 paedophile, rapists and other sex offenders living in communities under the supervision of SORM in 2020. They were released from prison after serving sentences for crimes including defilement of a child, sexual exploitation and aggravated sexual assault. But that information is no longer going to be made available. Interesting to know what's going on at RTE, because, any agent or organisation that broadcasts information or news or conducts interviews, as much as possible, you try and do so without going beyond the rules of the law in terms of defaming people or what have you. But there seems to be a particular problem at RTE, although that is to say we don't have access to everybody else's information. But did you know that RTE has been hit with 29 separate sets of defamation cases over the past 6 years? The cases have cost the broadcaster more than 4.7 million, or an average of around €160,000 each. Now, those are quite big slips. There's editorial policies in place to try and mitigate this happening, but it's happened 29 times at RTE in a short enough spell, 6 years. Now, it's €160,000 each. These cases have cost, but that's not the full story, because not all cases have been closed, and the figure is likely to rise still further. RTE said in 2017 there'd been 8 cases for the following year, and another 5 cases in 2019, according to the records released under Freedom of Information. In 2020, there were 7 cases and just 1 in 2021. However, the number of proceedings has bounced back, with 4 already in the first 5 months of this year. This includes a complaint by Sinn Féin President Mary Lou MacDonald following remarks on RTE Radio about historic abuse cases earlier this year. So, as I say, it is maybe what you can say, the rules are too stringent in that regard. Okay, there'll be a big viewership to RTE tonight for a programme on Charlie Bird. This is in the Sun today. It's not going to be for everyone going on this journey with him, but as I say, there will be a huge viewership for the majority, I think. Charlie Bird will visit his own grave in a new TV documentary tonight. The RTE legend, who's 72, was diagnosed with motor neuron disease last October after hiding his condition from friends and family for months, according to the paper. And in RTE1's Charlie Bird Loud and Clear, viewers will see the spot on Inishore, where his ashes will be buried when he dies. A poignant moment sees Charlie visit the peaceful Aran Island spot with close friend Peadar Poyle and wife Breed. The veteran broadcaster befriended the local pair years ago on his travel to the beauty spot. Okay, so that is tonight on RTE at 9:35, and I say so because I know a lot of you will be tuning in for that. 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts please to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Our first guests join us on the programme after we take these messages.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Quilcha cares for Ireland's forests sustainably. As our country seeks to combat climate change, we'll do more. Our ambition is to create new forests, manage our existing forests for greater carbon capture, and provide more habitats to enhance biodiversity. We'll support creating new homes by delivering sustainable Irish wood products. And we'll increase the number of beautiful forest recreation spaces for everyone to enjoy. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people, for a greener future for all.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Newly engaged and searching for the perfect venue, the 4-star Court Hotel Gweedore is gaining popularity as Donegal's leading wedding venue thanks to its reputation for excellent food, beautifully upgraded ballroom and idyllic location on the shore of River Clady, with the majestic Errigal Mountain providing the perfect backdrop. Start planning your wild Atlantic wedding with a private viewing on 07495 32900 and discover our newest wedding packages. And Court Hotel Gweedore, part of the Gallen Hospitality Group.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Tune in this Monday for the DL Debate the Championship as we review all the GA news of the week. Joining me to discuss the big match in Clonus is two former greats of the game, Donegal's Kevin Cassidy and Armagh's Aaron Kiernan. Also, former County star, now Highland Radio pundit Maureen O'Donnell will be on the line to give us her take on Donegal's first Group Championship game opener against Waterford. Plus, sports journalist with the Irish Times and Donegal native Keith Duggan will be on the line to round up all the weekend's GA action. That's a DL Debate just after 7 p.m. news this Monday on Highland Radio and podcasted on highlandradio.com.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen.
Okay, so as I mentioned, looking through the papers, the latest news beyond words, really. A new report claims at least 11 newly uncovered instances of sexual abuse at the Ard Grania Court Complex in Stranraer are being referred to on Garda Síochána for investigation. The report from The Independent claims that the abuse, well, they've covered the findings of the report. The report claims that abuse cases which are believed to have occurred between 1991 and 2002 are to be referred to Gardaí after the HSE internally published a second validation report into abuse at the facility at St Joseph's Hospital. Independent Deputy Thomas Pringle has been vocal on this issue, of course, and joins us on the programme now. Thomas, thanks for taking your time out this morning.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. Did you have any indication that there was this level of abuse ongoing?
No, not to this level at all, Greg. I did have suspicions that there was additional cases and that there may have been additional perpetrators, but I wasn't sure. And it's a bit shocking over the weekend to read of the extent of the abuse that was ongoing. And you know, it's 11 perpetrators, including Brandon. That's people that carried out the abuse. Up to there's over 40 cases, and then a further 20 of people who have since died, passed away. It's absolutely shocking. And I think the thing that is actually more shocking in relation to this, Greg, is that this was all on the files in the centre. So, I mean, the staff had been reporting this issue up the line and had been gone dead. So HSE management the whole way knew this was going on. So the Brandon report was nothing new to them. So they've obviously known what's going on and they did nothing about it.
Yeah, that's a really important point. They've been able to go through paperwork to discover this information, and as you mentioned too, sadly, other potential victims have since passed away. The extent to what was going on, it is shocking. This was at the one facility, is that correct?
Well, as far as I know, it's at the one facility. I haven't seen the report myself, so we're supposedly we're just talking in the blind at the moment. I hope to raise it in the Dáil this week with the Minister to get some more information in relation to it. And I know that the Minister is intending to publish do her own report at the moment, because the HSE wouldn't even allow the Minister to have a look at or to publish the Brandon report as it was at that time. So the Minister is doing her own report, trying to get to the bottom of this as well. I think we have to go further, and we have to take this out of the hand of the HSE, because I think this clearly shows how they've behaved in the Brandon report, and this has gone on for many years. They've showed that they're not capable of dealing with this, and we can't expect to get the truth from them either.
I'm asking these questions to get them out there more than expecting you to know the answers. But do we know if the families of these victims are aware, or do we have people listening here who had a loved one or had a loved one in this facility that going, well, does that include me? Like, have families been fully briefed and informed of what's going on?
As far as I know, they haven't. I've had family members contact me, where I've contacted the HSE for months to try and get them to talk to them, and eventually they have. And I've also other family members who have got the HSE have spoken to them and have told them that their family member wasn't abused by Brandon, but could they have been abused by these other perpetrators as well?
Like, we could have a situation whereby, and what we need to know is if a loved one, a family member, thought there's something going on here, did they raise their concerns? And were they told, no, everything's fine, but at the same time something was written down at odds to that by staff? Do you know, as I say, I'm not trying to throw fuel on the flames here, but those are really, really important, because if there's 40 victims potentially here, you know, that has a huge ripple effect right across Donegal.
Yeah, it's huge, like, and I mean, it's shocking, and sadly, I don't think it's unusual either in the context of the whole national picture. I think, and the very least the families deserve is to be told the truth. And we can't even rely on the HSE to do that at the moment. And that's if they were telling families, and if they were talking to families and letting families know what was happening, you would say, well, okay, let's move it on. But that hasn't happened. And
this is all being hidden behind, though, ongoing investigations. We can't comment on individual cases. Matters are being referred to the Gardaí. You know, I'm not saying people are actively covering it up. Okay, I don't know that, but the facts are. Okay, well, the facts are being obscured from us in our living memories. This is not historical. Right now, we're not getting to the bottom of this. We're not able to, because there's blockers in place.
Yeah, and that's the problem with it. And I was dismayed when I read in the Sunday Independent yesterday that this has been handed over by the HSE to the Gardaí, because in my mind the Gardaí have questions to answer as well, because I know the Brandon case was reported to Gardaí in 2011 by the whistleblower, and he was told by the Gardaí that they were already aware of it. And then in the Brandon report we see itself that in 2020 the Gardaí said that they couldn't do anything with it because the information hadn't come forward. So they waited 9 years before they decided what to do with it. And now it's been handed over to the Gardaí. I mean, is this not something that's worthy of a specific task force? Yeah, not to just go into the general Garda Síochána machine. And I'm not questioning that, right? But surely the level of what's going on here, and how it's not just about perpetrators here, it's about everything that was going on around it, right? This requires a task force, surely, or whatever our equivalent of that is. This requires a special team to be appointed solely to this. This is the level of a scandal we're talking here, in my view. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right, Greg. But I think what we need is a public inquiry. If you look at in the north, like the Mica inquiry that's taking place now at the moment, I think we need something like that. I think that has to be done in public, because the families deserve nothing better, and I think the people deserve nothing better as well. Because and it's bizarre, and through this whole process, I think the HSE have forgotten this as well, that the HSE actually work for us. They work for the people of Ireland on our behalf.
Well, I think they've forgotten that they work for the Minister of State for Disabilities, Anne Rabbitte, let alone us.
But she represents us, the people of Ireland. I get you, yeah. And so there's something badly wrong here, and I think it needs to be a full public inquiry to investigate this and bring it forward.
Also, what was the culture that allowed these decisions to be made? And as that is how have things changed? Like, we really, really deserve very clear answers in this regard. There needs to be a root and branch look at this to at least give people some assurances while the rest of the procedures are ongoing.
Yeah. And we have to be sure that, and look, with the best will in the world, incidences will happen even if you have the best procedures in any place. But what we have to be sure of is that the family members will be made aware of it, and that steps will be put in place to try and make sure that it doesn't happen again. I mean, that's the very least that we can expect, and we could hope for. And families have been left behind, and I know many families today in Donegal will be distraught listening to us here today on Highland Radio and reading the reports in the paper over the weekend and that there. And that's shocking. Again, it shouldn't be allowed to happen.
No, they should have all of the details, and if they choose to give reaction to this rather than what we're having to do, and we've no alternative, is to comment on a newspaper article and the journalists who happen to get eyes on this report. It's not the way things should be done. I mean, we complain about leaks from cabinet meetings and all, but this is on a completely different scale. But you can't ignore it either, because it's out there in the public domain.
Yeah, and it can't be ignored, and the HSE have tried to ignore it for many years already, and we have to put an end to that system, and that's what we need to do. And I think we need all politicians to be pushing the minister to support, and in fairness, supporting Minister Anne Rabbitte and what she is doing, and and bring forward. And I think she's going to have to go a bit further when she publishes her own report. That'll be very welcome. I think that'll be and should point some of the direction to go forward. But I think what she'll have to do is go for a full public inquiry and so that we know once and for all that these issues are being dealt with. And we know as well that a system will be put in place that if these things happen in the future, that families will be told, and families will be actually supported through it as well.
In terms of the Brandon case, you would have thought as well, and pardon my ignorance if this question, if it doesn't sound right, but at some point you would have thought, right, there's an ongoing report here. The facts are going to perhaps eventually come out. We probably need to widen the scope of this, and that someone make a decision to say, right, we're going to try and investigate everything and get everything out there, because there's clearly more than one individual involved here. It's like the facts have to be dragged out of the situation kicking and screaming. In other words, like, have we any faith that, what else is there, right? We've almost stumbled upon more information off the back of a further investigation following the Brandon. Well, what else is there that we haven't uncovered yet? Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, Greg, because I've been involved in the Brandon case since 2016, and it was only last year that we brought it to the Dáil because the whistleblower and myself wanted the HSE to deal with this. They wanted it to be sorted out, and they wanted it to be sorted out in a way that it could be dealt with and moved on. I didn't want to raise this in the Dáil, and I don't want to be continuously raising these issues either as well, but I will until the HSE and deal with this and deal with it properly once and for all.
Okay, well, the minister said she'll speak to us after she's spoken to the HSE, but that might take some time. But in the meantime, Deputy Thomas Pringle, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks very much, Greg.
All right, it's beyond shocking, genuinely is. All right, we'll be back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102 127.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnford. Doors open 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €5,650 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
New this week in Home Store and More. All summer duvets are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price summer duvets are gone, they're gone. Also, all outdoor cushions are still half price. But when all our half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery. Or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Walk the line once again with the multi-award-winning Johnny Cash and June Carter tribute show Cash Returns. Celebrate the music of the Man in Black at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday 18th of June. Limited tickets are available now at the box office. That's Cash Returns live at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday the 18th of June.
Okay, we are joined on the programme now by Brian McCormick, Joint Chair of Letterkenny Tidy Towns. Brian, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Nice to have you with us. I don't know, these IBAL surveys, they're a bit random. If you just look at the...
You don't know what you're going to get sometimes.
Exactly, and you know, I've called into question when they've described our towns as littered, and I suppose, but we'll take the good news when it comes. Letterkenny in second position among 40 towns and cities. What I think is that we crack on with it up here and we do our best, and you know, I think we do really, really well. But I suppose if we get some national recognition, we'll take it, Brian.
Yeah, 100%. I think Letterkenny is built on a collaborative approach, and I think it's a good day today. And as I wouldn't be getting overly excited if we got an extremely bad one, albeit you would look at it and examine it. I think we just take the good today, and people who are responsible for this, they acknowledge it and you know, and wish them well, and that includes, you know, the likes of Glenn Plant there, James and his team, and our own volunteers led by Neil Blockley. They do a very good job, and others that do everything, maybe they do it quietly and they just get on with it.
Yeah, and they get on with it all the time. I mean, have we put in that those people operate at over 100% all the time? Have we put in a particular effort though ahead of this, or did they just happen to land on the right days?
I think you know, there's a collaborative approach. As I said, every Sunday morning there's this is, you know, outside the working week, people or volunteers turn up, and I think the spring clean is just over as well. So I think the town's in good condition. We're ready for the Tidy Towns judges to arrive, or they've possibly arrived already, and Letterkenny's in good nick, and we're sort of, I suppose it's a positive outlook when you see this, Greg. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. They highlight coffee cups as being one of the problems. That's nationwide kind of an issue. I think we're perhaps, hopefully, learning, but we've a bit of a way to go, not just locally. I mean, just as a society, you know, throwing stuff on our backsides.
Yeah, I see that at my own workplace. I mean, I see a lot of them coming in with their own cups, and you know, it's not going to be long until we're bringing our reusable cup down to a coffee shop and filling it up in your own container, and that'll happen naturally, and it's coming, and it's going to happen, you know. And people, I think, will be happy to do it. They'll enjoy their own comforts and be more prepared, I think.
All right. Well, listen, congratulations to you and all at Letterkenny Tidy Towns, not just for this, for what you do all year round, because there's amazing people that clean up the local communities right across our county, despite the best efforts of others, it seems, a minority to litter it. But as I say, we'll take it in the round, but it's nice to get a bit of recognition too, Brian.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's only right to thank the council for their support. They're dedicated to Letterkenny, and this is a good day for them too, and it's a good day for the team, as they say, Greg.
All right, listen, good stuff. Thank you very much indeed, Brian. Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Roisin Gallagher and Michael Doherty. Michael Doherty, the PRO of the Mica Action Group. Roisin Gallagher, who is an affected homeowner, of course. Good morning, both of you. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
Okay, Roisin, your signal is not fantastic, but listen, we'll batter on with it. You've been commenting about this €5,000 emergency fund, which has been made available. What are your concerns about it, Roisin? No, okay. Well, listen, I will.
It's extreme.
Okay, Roisin, listen, I might get you back on a phone line if that's okay, or we'll try and reconnect. Before we talk specifically about that, I might ask you, Michael, where we are at as it relates to pre-legislative that situation, scrutiny, because there's a big campaign online at the moment to try and pressure the government and TDs to back this. Any indications as to if it's going to happen?
Indications at the minute would, just on the grapevine, would suggest it's not going to happen, Greg. That we'll have the government push this on through. We know that they dominate that joint housing committee. There's 9 in it, and there's 5 that are in power representatives, and that leaves them with a majority there, unfortunately. So it looks like they're going to try and ram this through, and that's a real concern for us. And I suppose if you tie that back into what you were just going to talk about, that 5K emergency works, I think that also highlights the need for pre-legislative scrutiny. We just cannot trust them to go do the right thing. Has been our been our experience to date, and we see whenever we get into the devil of the detail, which is the case again shown by the department in the 5K and how they have construed that there's a missed opportunity to do something in good spirit that we all thought at face value should be happening. It was listed as one of 4 things that were seen as enhancements by the minister on a letter that he sent to me on the 23rd of December, and it was 5K emergency works. But the reality is, you've got to spend 12K to get 5K back if you're not already stage 1 approved in the scheme.
All right,
so
stay with me on that.
That's the issue,
and we'll tease that further. I think Roisin's rejoined us. Can you hear me better now, Roisin?
I can hear you, yeah, Greg. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Okay, so from your perspective as a homeowner, talk to me about this €5,000 emergency fund and the flaws in it.
Well, as Michael said, this the rollout of this and how it has come about, or how it's been rolled out, doesn't bode well for when it's extremely.
All right, I'll tell you what we will do is we'll get Roisin on the telephone line because her internet connection there just isn't up to grabs. And I want to focus on that too, but I want to just cover a few things with you more broadly, Michael. And Caroline's going to get Roisin on the phone line for us. You're sort of trying to put the pressure on TDs as well. You know, the government majority in this is very narrow. You have the likes of Minister Joe McHugh on the record saying that if there's any nitpicking here, if this does not satisfy the Mica Action Group, that that he will not support it, that he would not support the government. And you've others that have made strong commitments. Are you getting anything back from these people to say, will they back homeowners when it comes down to the nitty-gritty as it relates to seeking pre-legislative scrutiny?
They've all gone very quiet, Greg, which is, isn't surprising to us. But what I would say is that I suppose if you're in their shoes, they'll be saying to themselves, we're hoping that we don't have to declare a side here between the homeowner and the party. We hope that the party will do the right thing. We'll not know the outcome of that until the 21st of June. And I would imagine at that stage, if they haven't spoken beforehand, we will certainly be demanding a position from them afterwards. But I think what they're trying to do is put the pressure on, or what they really should be trying to do, is put the pressure on their leaders to ensure that they are not forced to choose between party and their people. Get the leaders to do the right thing, and then there's no conflict of interest, there's no choice to make, and everyone's a winner. But if the government keep on the path that they have been on to date, and this turns out to be a second failed attempt by this government to do the right thing by us, then we will be calling out these TDs, and they'll have to make a stark choice, and they'll be remembered for that when it comes to next time round at the doors and at the elections.
And what is the situation on some basic stuff, right? Because, of course, on this programme, on a number of occasions now, we have Charlie McConnell stating that foundations are included. And then we hear reports saying that the Housing Minister doesn't want them included. Now, I'm only covering the story. And I find it really quite confusing. I can only imagine what a homeowner might feel where their whole life's work and their future and their family homes is at stake, and they're hearing different bits of information. So on something as fundamental as that, do we know what the clear position is with this new scheme and foundations?
Absolutely. As we have in black and white, and that's the only thing you can work off, Greg, is black and white, because words change all the time with these guys. In black and white, foundations is not included. That was in the guidelines that accompanied the new enhanced scheme that was published on the 30th of November last year. Clearly in there, foundations are listed on the page on exclusions. Foundations are listed in there. So we have had Charlie McConnell come on. He has been on your show and others talking about foundations will be included. That may be the case when it's announced on Tuesday week here, but as it stands right now, foundations are not included, nor are the other deleterious materials that everybody knows needs to be.
Yeah, and which are quite prevalent in samples in Donegal.
Exactly, and we have got loads of evidence now that says we have pyrrhotite in abundance here in many of the Petrolab results that are coming back, and yet we have got, we've got the department and we have others within Engineers Ireland that are peddling this story that they believe it to be a pyrite issue, or a mica or pyrite deal only, and they're refusing to accept the evidence and the overwhelming evidence that's coming from Europe and elsewhere to say that pyrrhotite, if it's in there, pyrrhotite is a game changer. And it doesn't suit the narrative of the department, who are still hell-bent on making sure that they can cost the exchequer as little as possible.
But until we get the pyrrhotite issue resolved independently, okay, because we can't expect the government to just accept the views of experts in Europe, wherever they might be. They're going to have to source that information themselves. Like, are we looking at stalling this then till we actually do that and get this right?
I think
can we progress without doing? Can we progress this, Michael? We can progress without.
Yeah, we can. What the way we progress it, Greg, in anybody's common sense language would say, if in doubt, take it out. So when the science is there to say that less will do, then we'll accept that. But in the meantime, without that science being there, you can't expect a homeowner to accept a half-baked effort at remediating their home. It has to be done right, and it has to be a demolish and rebuild until there is evidence, scientific evidence, that says that less will do. Right now, the overwhelming evidence that we have to our disposal is saying that it's going to be beyond salvaging once you've got pyrrhotite or these other sulfides in abundance, which is what our reports are saying are happening. So when that is the case, everyone right now, including the testing labs, would tell us that there's no way back from that. So until there is research and design and science that says less will do, then the way we progress the scheme right now is the fail-safe option, which is take the house down and rebuild it, and at whatever time on down the line, if there's something that says less will do, that's appropriate then, but it's certainly not appropriate now.
All right, listen, thank you for that. Stay there. Roisin, third time lucky. Sorry about this, because you've got really important points to make, and I'm sorry the tech let us down. Right, so you have been speaking about the 5K emergency funds. From your perspective, what are your concerns? What are your questions?
Well, as Michael said, there's this 5K emergency fund. When it was announced that now that it's been rolled out, we know the details. As we say, the devil in the details. It doesn't bode well for the announcement on the 21st of June of what will be included in the enhanced scheme. It doesn't bode well whatsoever. So basically, we have to come up with the 5K up front, which I was totally shocked at. I heard this through your show, being announced by Martin McDermott. If I had been asked to announce this, I think I would have refused. Just to come to this with homeowners is absolutely. It was so shocking to hear the details of it. So people are waiting, as you know, desperately needing repairs. Chimneys need to come down, and I mean, especially in this current climate with people having to struggle this winter to heat their homes, they're going to need their chimneys. But people are afraid to light their fires because their chimneys are so bad, or that the chimney might fall down on top of somebody and kill them. But they can't avail of that 5,000 emergency fund now, because it turns out you must have the £5,000 up front, €5,000 up front. You must have entered the scheme, so you obviously have to come up with the money to enter the scheme, thousands. You also have to have your property tax up to date to enter the scheme, and you also have to be stage 1 approved, and you also have to get this work certified by an engineer. So I want to know, first of all, where the engineers, what engineers can we use? Can we use any engineers, or must it be the list from the list of registered engineers? Which in that case, how long will we be waiting to even get an engineer? What is their fee, and where does that fee come from? Does it come from the 5,000 emergency fund? When all is said and done, and if anybody can even access this 5,000 emergency fund, is that 5,000 taken from our overall grant for our final works? It is, as far as I'm aware. So the whole thing has been a complete...
When you look at all those criteria, Roisin, the question you have to ask is how many people are actually eligible, even if they were able to front load the money? How many are actually even eligible for this €5,000?
Well, that's exactly it. So I did ask that question, and Jack Murray has said he has asked Patricia, and he's going to come back with a figure. But the true number is not people that are eligible for this, people that are actually able, or that this will even if you are eligible for it, if you're close to doing your main works, you're not going to need the emergency fund. So those people do not even count. People that are eligible but are close to repairing their entire property, they're not going to be availing of this 5,000 emergency fund, are they? You know, so there's even a smaller number than the actual people that are on paper eligible to apply for this fund.
And of those, you know, the least resourced you are, the less likely you are to be able to. I mean, what do you do? Do you expect you to go and try and, you know, get a loan or something? I mean, how many people, in all honesty, how many people have 5 or 6 or 7,000 euro just sitting in their account? I'd say very, very few. Or maybe there's more than I think. I don't know, but I just...
Very, very few. And even trying to get a loan from the banks, I mean, I've tried myself, and it took weeks and weeks and weeks. The paperwork is not straightforward, and even the person that I was dealing with and locally was, you know, apologetic at how long the process took. And, you know, he was dealing with us as Mica homeowners, so as much as the banks are saying they're going to help, it was a nightmare for us to try and get some funds for the process.
Yeah, and Michael as well, and I'm coming back to you in a second, Roisin. I mean, if we seemingly can't get a 5,000 euro grant right, if it's a grant, how in God's name can we get a multi-billion euro scheme correct, especially without pre-legislative scrutiny? I mean, this is clearly a scheme, some might feel, that is designed to look good, but you can't get it.
Well, this has been our issue all along, Greg, here, and I feel for Roisin and the rest of them out there. And, you know, I will give, as best I can, a weekly update that'll tell us where we're at. But it's so disappointing to have to go back to people then and say, well, listen, this is what it looked like, and now this is what we've got. And the two don't match on too many occasions, and that's the problem we have here. So if I go back to that 5K, that was something, and Paddy Diver in Fairneston was the first man to shout about that at the working group meetings for the short time that he was at it last summer, that we had families in danger. By rights, these families should be relocated, but there were no place to relocate them to. And on the back of that, we said we need to get emergency funds at least that short circuits all the other drama and the long-winded process by which you become eligible for the scheme, and get these people in some sort of a safe environment. So that was the spirit of it. And then when it wasn't happening, we pushed hard for that. And I said we needed some good news for these homeowners coming into Christmas. And I appealed directly to the minister on a WhatsApp message to him. And I worked with him, and he came back with four things coming into Christmas very quickly. First one, very importantly, was the SCSI independence that he guaranteed us, as opposed to the sliding scale that was introduced. And the second thing was the refund of the funds, which was massively important, and that did go well. But they had the fly in the ointment again, where they made it to the 24th of February. If you had your application in after the 24th of February, it no longer applied. So that was a backward step. And that was clearly a step designed at stopping people, or at least discouraging people from applying in the old scheme and holding people off to the new scheme. The third thing was the involvement of the homeowner's engineer in the assessment and categorization, which we will see what detail that pans out like on the 21st here, Tuesday week. And the last one was the 5K emergency funds. Now, the 5K emergency funds was meant to be something that fast-tracked through everything and got a chimney taken down, or got something like a canopy over your front door if there was danger of parts of the masonry falling off over the top of you. It was meant to be something that was fast and easily accessed. What they have done is they have that 24th of February clause has now meant that for you to get into the old scheme, you're going to have to pay 6 or 7 grand. So if you're not already in the old scheme, you've got to find 6 or 7 grand. You've got to wait the 3 or 4 or 5 months it's going to take for results to come back. And then you're going to have to wait on the council to pay the money back. Now, in this occasion, I'm not blaming the council, to be honest with you, because what they have been given is a set of guidelines by the department, carefully thought out, that minimises the number of people that can avail of it, which is absolutely disgraceful.
I mean, Roisin,
and this is why we need PLS.
Roisin, it feels like it's being designed to frustrate, that that they're taking a hand out of us now at this point. Roisin?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the most worrying part about all of this is the impact that it has on people's mental health. And I keep saying this all along. So if you promise people that they're going to get a fast-track 5,000 emergency fund to fix anything that urgently needs fixed, and then you come back with this, this is absolute. This is trauma on top of trauma. And I'll tell you what I believe it is bullying on a mass scale. This is going to have detrimental effects, serious detrimental effects for our community, right the way through Donegal. So obviously we're not going to expect them to counter that by giving us help for that, because they're the ones that are causing the problem. I can't see why they would want to come in and help us with
Okay, well, we're going to try and get some clarity. I just want to ask you one other thing too, because I know you'd spoke previously about a Mica hub to work with the community. And then I note it was mentioned yesterday that a meeting had taken place with some councillors whereby a Mica hub was being discussed, and you hadn't heard anything about that. Can you explain what was going on there? Because I thought this was something that you had been working on, and yet you seemed surprised to hear that it had been discussed at a meeting between some councillors and the council. What's going on there?
Okay, well, I won't say I did know that a meeting was going to take place at some stage, but I mean, I feel like I have to chase all the time to find information when it was the homeowners, myself, Joy Beard and James Beard, who have been working on this for between almost 10 months. We've come up with a proposal for a community hub. So the community hub is homeowner-led, which is extremely important, and the whole basis of it is that it's homeowner-led so that homeowners don't feel like they're walking into a government office, that sort of thing. So that's extremely important in the whole thing. So we have been working on this and trying to get funding with this. We've been speaking to the council about this, and they have said, well, to date, we haven't had any promise of funding of this. So it would cost in the region of 70,000 per year to run this properly, and this is going to have to be run for several years. But the hub itself is absolutely anything that you can think of that you need help with. That is what the hub will provide: up-to-date information, which is more beneficial than information falling down a newsfeed. Support for mental health for families. And actually everything to do with your suppliers and information about how to contact suppliers, what offers they might have on. Every single thing you can think of would be in this hub. So I, myself, Joy and James have come up with a proposal. We did all the costing, and then we did a presentation, and we presented that to Martin.
But are the council discussing your proposals, or are they coming up with their own counter proposals?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, to my mind, I would have expected that myself and Joy and James would have been invited to any meeting, because I would be very concerned that the whole premise or the whole concept of the community hub, a homeowner-led hub, might be lost within these meetings, and I'd be very concerned about that. So I did not know that last week that a meeting had taken place, and nobody had contacted me since to tell me what the outcome of that was.
Roisin, okay, listen,
Greg,
I was going to say to you, Michael, if we can't get the communications right at the local level, what expectations can we have for the national government to do? But anyway, what were you going to say in the last minute, please?
Yeah, Greg, I was going to just say to you, Roisin, I was at that meeting. I got invited to that meeting. I didn't set it up, but I got invited to it. But I did make your points very clear, loud and clear at it. And I'm expecting Liam Ward to come back. We have another meeting set up. I believe it's for a fortnight's time. And I've made the points very clear in there regards that. So it was a good meeting, and I think we made the point very clearly about when we saw what could be set up for Ukrainians, and we have no issue with that. But the fact that they can mobilise, if they have been mobilised, we need to have a parallel for that setup, and it needs to be homeowner-led. So that point's made loud and clear.
All right.
Just one last thing, Greg, sorry if I can, just on the 5K, there's 350 applicants that are Stage 1 approved that can avail immediately off that 5K, just to put a balance to this whole thing, right?
But do they not need to have they need to have that money themselves already, don't they?
No, well, if they're already Stage 1 approved, that means they'll have got at least their funding money back as a starter for 10. Okay, so that might help them. And for people that are not even on the scheme whatsoever, their difficulty, well, the good news is that you can still avail of the 5K to get your work done, but you don't get your money back until your stage 1 approved. I'm also in consultation with the credit union for the 3 branches in Inishowen to see if we can get something in place for affected homeowners that's a package that's very attractive, that would at least allow that 5K to be paid back over a period of time.
All right.
and so on. So that works going on.
So some progress is being made.
To compensate for something that the department has not got right once again.
All right, listen, both of you, thank you very much indeed. Roisin Gallagher there, Michael Doherty. We'll be back with more after the news at 10, which will be a minute late. My apologies.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Graduated with an honours degree? Let the College of Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise take your career to the next level. Study full-time or part-time for a master's degree in Business for Agri-Food and Rural Enterprise. Awarded by Queen's University Belfast. Join our virtual postgraduate information evening on Thursday the 16th of June at 7 p.m. on Discover Caffrey Facebook. For more information, visit cafre.se.uk. That's cafre.se.uk.
Happy Father's Day!
This Father's Day, choose Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, Cool Water, Diesel, 1 Million, Jean-Paul Gaultier. Choose McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. Great gifts for great dads. Click mcgees.ie.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Rally fever is building in the northwest. Join Highland Radio for live coverage of the Donegal International Rally on air and online at highlandradio.com in association with Pulse Venue Letterkenny, your entertainment headquarters over Rally weekend, with One for the Road, the Tumbling Paddies and Mark McCabe on Rally Friday.
Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware, Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware. 083 091 0707.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, just gone 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. Donegal TD Thomas Pringle is calling for an independent inquiry into instances of sexual abuse at the Ardgrania Court complex in Stranraer after it emerged at the weekend that 11 more cases have been referred to Garda Síochána. It's believed the cases occurred between 1991 and 2002 and were unearthed after the HSC internally published a second validation report following last year's partial publication of the Brandon report. Deputy Pringle says the figures that emerged in newspaper reports at the weekend are truly shocking.
I did have suspicions that there was additional cases and that there may have been additional perpetrators, but I wasn't sure. And it's a bit shocking over the weekend to read of the extent of the abuse that was ongoing, and you know, as 11 perpetrators, including Brandon, that's people that carried out the abuse, up to there's over 40 cases, and then a further 20 of people who have since died, passed away. It's absolutely shocking.
Deputy Thomas Pringle there speaking to Greg on the 9 till noon show this morning. You can hear more of that interview on our website highlandradio.com. The British government will this afternoon publish its plans to scrap parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol in Parliament. It claims the legislation won't break international law, but that's denied by Sinn Féin and by Fine Gael's European spokesperson, among others. The Taoiseach the former Taoiseach and Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Coveney says that the relations between Ireland and the UK are at an all-time low. He's accused the British Home Secretary Liz Truss of making no effort whatsoever. Well, here the Irish Farmers Association says it's vital that any change to the protocol doesn't interfere in trade between the North and the Republic. Its president is Tim Cullinan.
approximately 40% of the milk in Northern Ireland is processed here in the south. And on the other side, we have live cattle, almost 100,000 cattle a year now, going north of the border, and similarly with pigs and sheep as well. So it's important that all those flows of trade can continue.
Irish passport applications from Northern Ireland have tripled in the space of 3 years. In the first 6 months of 2019, there were over 20,000 applications. That skyrocketed to almost 57,000 last year. The figures were released by the Department of Foreign Affairs. The Irish Daily Mail says the threefold increase is due to Brexit. A mix of policy measures is necessary to reduce the number of people in poverty by 2025. That's according to the ESRI, which is calling for increases in payments to working families and those with children. The government wants to have a consistent poverty rate of 2% or lower within 3 years. But the ESRI's Dr. Karina Dooley says if that's to be achieved, a number of measures are necessary.
I suppose not surprisingly, the main takeaway is that there is no silver bullet to reducing poverty. So we have options. We have lots of options. So on the employment side, we can reduce barriers to work through the provision of affordable childcare, elder care, and other sort of things that would really prevent people who want to work from actually going out to work. And this will decrease poverty rates somewhat.
Letterkenny has reached its highest ever position in the Irish Business Against Litter ranking of 40 towns and cities. The town's been deemed cleaner than European norms. It's ranked second best in the country after Naas. With more detail, here's Donna Marie Doherty.
The surveys that inform the rankings are carried out for Ibel, Bay and Tashka. The Letterkenny report is particularly complimentary about Letterkenny University Hospital, the Bernard McGlinchey Town Park and the area surrounding Letterkenny Retail Park. The report says the hospital has been a littered site in previous surveys, but that is not the case this time round. The retail park, it finds, wasn't just good with regard to litter, it was a very freshly presented and maintained environment. The report says the Bernard McGlinchey Town Park wasn't just beautifully presented and maintained, it was spotless throughout. Letterkenny bus station is also highlighted as a top ranking site. In general, IBEL says there's a reduction of litter across the country, particularly in terms of masks and other PPE. However, they have expressed concern about the prevalence of single-use coffee cups, saying it's time to consider a levy.
Weather forecast: sunny spells and well scattered showers today, and highest temperatures of 14 or 15 degrees Celsius with moderate west to southwest breezes. Tonight it'll be mostly dry, but the west and northwest will see some drizzle and some wet weather in places with overnight highs of 9 to 11 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow it will be dry in the east, but it will get predominantly wetter the further west you go. West and northwest again, some potential rain and drizzle. Again, top temperatures hitting 15 to 17 degrees Celsius tomorrow. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Good morning.
Obituary notices for Monday morning, June 13th. The death has taken place of Daniel McGonigal, Carolmina McCanny. Removal from the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, today at 6 p.m, going to his home. Funeral from there on Wednesday morning at 10:15 for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Ballinacre, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. The death has taken place of Margaret McGee, Broad Path, Convoy. Her remains are reposing at her residence. Funeral leaving her residence tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m, going to St Mary's Church, Convoy, for 11 o'clock Mass. Burial afterwards in the Old Cemetery. The death has occurred of Kathleen Gallagher, Nee Hearn, Cavan, Duncan Ely. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m, going to St Joseph's and St Connell's Church, Brookles, for 12 noon Requiem Mass, with burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. The funeral mass can be viewed online via the Brookles Church, St Joseph's and St Connell Facebook page. The death has occurred of James McMenamin, Ballybun, Castlefin. James's remains are reposing at his late home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Mary's Church, Castlefin. Interment afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Castlefin. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Charles Lynch Funeral Directors or any family member. The death has taken place of Robert Coyle, 40 Greaves Park, Strabane, and formerly of Ballyfatton. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home this evening at 6:30 p.m. to St Mary's Church, Melmount. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to the Alzheimer's Society, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live at melmountparish.com. The death has occurred of Sean Mongan, 4 Greystone Avenue, Castlederg, and formerly of 27 Tullycar Road, Ahiarn. Funeral from his late home this morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Ahiarn. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Fund for Ukraine, care of Charles Lynch Funeral Directors or any family member. The death has occurred of Mary Gillespie, Drumahy, Brookless. Her remains will leave her late residence this morning at 10:30 a.m. to the St Mary of Visitation Church, Killybegs, for 11 a.m. funeral mass. Burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Mass will be streamed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Killybegs Community Hospital, care of any family member or McBurdy Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Marion McDade, Cabry, Quigley's Point. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in St Columba's Church, Drung, Quigley's Point. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu to Crumlin Children's Hospital, Dublin. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. And if you're just joining us, you're very welcome along to the programme. Where have you been? Okay, tomorrow on the show, we have Garth Brooks, by the way. If you have any questions that you'd want to ask of Garth, get in touch with us. 08660 25,000. I'll try and put them to him for you. But that's coming up on the show tomorrow, ahead of his gigs in September. Right, let's get to some of your comments this morning. Pardon my ignorance on the Mica issue, but has it been taken to Europe? If not, then it's time to take it through the Court of Human Rights in Europe. There is a process that has begun. Where that eventually leads, we do not know. I suppose it has to be determined really how the government responds here before you might sort of contest that at a European level, or maybe those two things can go in tandem. As I say, people have been over there, they've been listened to, and their views taken on board, and we'll see where that goes. A caller says, I can't believe how what went on in these institutions has been covered up. I have had a family member in long-term care, couldn't have faulted the staff, and now to think that this was happening, it's heartbreaking. Yeah, that's the what I was trying to get across. It's obviously it's the victims first and foremost, but it's so many people who have had loved ones in care, and they might be asking questions themselves this morning. This caller believes it's time for an election. I spoke to a woman this week that had €4 left when she had her bills paid. She contacted a charity for support, and they did indeed come out and gave her €40. But they also said they are away down on funds and are getting very little in themselves and are not able to support those in need in this crisis. Greg, the price of petrol and diesel is crazy and the government is loving its tax. Yeah, indeed. But as we heard in the show last week, the only, at the moment, unless there's a derogation from Europe, the government could only, if they wanted to, or any government for that matter, at the moment could reduce petrol by 13 cents and diesel by 9. And driving to work today, I passed a station, 2 stations, and the difference between the two was greater than that. A caller wants to know, is the Mica Action Group being unreasonable? The scheme can't be opened up to everyone. That would just lead to the abuse of it. You have to have proven you have defective blocks to avail of it, or they're being objectional for the sake of it now. A lot of you want to comment on the football, and we appreciate it. The Armagh supporters refereed that match. I think the ref eventually just copped out. Is that a fair assessment, or is that sort of like an excuse? I don't know. When did this booing, though, of players and free kicks start? We've seen it in a couple of games more recently. It's not nice to see. I don't think there's any need for it at all. I think let someone kick a ball respectfully and then cheer or boo or whatever you want to do. But this booing and whistling and hissing. Also, why didn't you go to the game yesterday? I mean, Armagh supporters outnumbered the Donegal supporters greatly. What reason? There was some roadworks up there. Did you have other things on, communions, confirmations? Or are you just a wee bit disinterested because of the style of play? It's not the players themselves, of course. They're fantastic and give their all. But, you know, maybe the style of play, although yesterday was a little bit different than the game that went before it. Also, too, and I don't know the ins and outs of this. In fact, I won't say it because I'll be accused of being an armchair pundit. But, well, I will say, I just don't, what I don't understand yesterday, I asked Brendan because what I don't understand yesterday is when the black card was issued, why you would not just put an outfield player in the goals for the last 10 minutes, 12 minutes of the first half and ride it out until the second half. And even if you sort of tried to maintain the status quo, you could kick on in the second half when you had a full complement to gain. What would be the logic? And I don't know the answer to this. It's a genuine question. What would be the logic effectively having to make 3 substitutions to put in a goalkeeper for the last 10 minutes of the first half and take off a key player in the process of doing so? As I say, I'm not saying that was the turning point, but someone who knows an awful lot more about football than I would, if you could explain what would be the logic in a decision like that. As I say, I'm just as a supporter, just would be curious to know. If they added another ball every time there was a foul, then it would liven the game up, and ditto to soccer. I'll gladly pay per view. Right, okay. Disappointing game for Donegal yesterday. The constant booing from the Armagh fans was very poor sportsmanship. Yeah, we lost, but where was the Donegal support? Well, that's what I'm asking. Why didn't you turn up in great numbers? Someone said to me that they didn't because they knew what was going to happen, and sure, why put themselves through that? I suppose it's very expensive, the cost of travelling. I don't know. Right, okay, let's take a break for the bingo numbers. And what we'll do is we'll come back with more after that. 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts, keep them coming to us. But I will say good luck if you are playing the bingo today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 13th of June. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S16. It's game number 24. The numbers are 81, 89, 51, 79, 13, 4, 54, 19, 1, and finally 45. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Too many lives continue to be lost on our roads. There is still a cohort of motorists who drive dangerously and risk the lives of all road users. Driving at excessive speed or driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs will destroy lives. We all need to take personal responsibility and not take unnecessary risks that put our lives or the lives of others in danger. Slow down. Never drink or drug drive, and keep the race in its place. A message from the Donegal Road Safety Working Group.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor now offers a wide range of skin boosters. The injectable moisturiser for under eyes that improves dark circles, fine lines and wrinkles. Also treating the face, neck, chest and hands. This amazing treatment works from the inside out, resulting in brighter, smoother, plumper skin. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. You can download the Genesis app or call 07495 32575.
The final O'Neill Sportswear Massive Warehouse Clearance starts at 9 a.m. on Friday 17th of June and ends Sunday 19th of June. For the final time, County GAA jerseys, leisure wear, including t-shirts, tracksuit bottoms, half-zips, hoodies and jackets, all reduced to clear. The sale will take place at O'Neill Sportswear Warehouse of the Melmount Road, Strabane.
Dergfest Castle Derg, Saturday the 30th of July, featuring Sigma, KC Lights, plus support acts, all under the Big Top Tent. For ticket information, check out Dergfest Music Festival Facebook page.
This ad is kindly sponsored by McKelvey Construction, Castle Derg.
If you're thinking of changing some furniture, a huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture, with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale now on at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Okay, so legislation giving ministers in Britain power to scrap parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol is going to be published today in the House of Commons. Ahead of the publication, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss is expected to speak to European Commission Vice President Maros Sefcovic, and she also, I think, spoke to our Foreign Affairs Minister a little earlier on. Deputy Neil Richmond is Fine Gael's spokesperson on European affairs. He joins us now. Deputy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, Boris Johnson and his government seem determined to plough ahead with this, and still we don't really know on what legal basis they believe that they can. That information is being kept very close to their chests.
Absolutely no legal information has been published. It is well known that a previous attempt to do this, the Attorney General couldn't get legal advice to say this was legal for the British government to do, so then sought secondary advice, and there's all rumours about lawyers to the Trump campaign. But I know Minister Coveney spoke with Liz Truss this morning, as did Maros Sefcovic. The minister's conversation only lasted 12 minutes, and sadly, the report from Simon is that this marks a low point in the British government approach to the entire Brexit process, and it's a really disappointing day.
And we don't know what this might lead to either, because I'll start with Northern Ireland here, because this throws in a great deal of uncertainty on the most basic level as to how you might do business there, or how you might invest there, or what the future might hold. This is just leaving it so grey that no company perhaps would want to expand or invest into Northern Ireland.
Well, absolutely, and that's why we hear all the business groups, be it manufacturers, NI, the CBI, again today, farm groups, all screaming from their lungs that they don't want unilateral action, they don't want this proposed legislation. Northern Irish businesses were briefed last week by the Secretary of State in Northern Ireland, and they made it quite clear that what is being proposed, and of course we wait the final detail, but it's no great secret, but what's being posed will just add mass confusion and increase instability to a part of the world that really needs political and economic stability. Like we hear all these reports about, dual regulations and in-market surveillance, and a company can choose to go by EU rules or UK rules. That's simply not acceptable, and if there's a large-scale level of divergence, it leaves a lot of companies exposed. I think if you remember, Greg, a couple of months ago when Edwin Poots, as Agriculture Minister in the North, ordered the stopping of checks, businesses didn't go for that at all. They still wanted the checks to continue because they knew they themselves, as businesses, as individuals, didn't want to be in breach of international law, even if politicians and ministers thought it was okay for them to be.
Yeah, this gives ministers the power to scrap parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol, but do we know their intention yet? Do perhaps in a misguided way, does Liz Truss and Boris Johnson believe that this is the negotiating power that they need to get the EU to the table on their terms?
Well, I've no doubt that is one of the many thought processes going through the minds of British government, and it's been said to me by British government officials only in the last couple of weeks that every time the UK goes strong, as they like to call it, the EU comes back to the table. But the big thing is, Greg, the EU has never left the table. In fact, it was the British government that left the negotiating table. Liz Truss hasn't engaged in negotiations since the 24th of February. Up to that point, negotiations had actually been going quite well when she took over as lead negotiator from Lord Frost. But the UK has gone missing, and the EU, after presenting an extremely detailed package of proposals following Maroš Šefčovič's visit to the north in autumn, the UK hasn't responded in kind, and instead what we're getting is no engagement from the British government, but rather a threat to act unilaterally to break international law. And then that brings into the wider, more cynical thoughts that this is really more about the internal battles in Conservative politics, which unfortunately has dogged everything to do with Brexit so far.
Yeah, as an onlooker, what I see here is that when I hear reasons why this doesn't work, things like trees and turnips are mentioned. And yet, on the other hand, you hear that Northern Ireland's economy is growing faster than anywhere else in Britain and Northern Ireland, as far as I can determine. And then also you hear there seems to be quite a bit of agreement in terms of that this needs to be looked at. Maybe there needs to be different pathways for produce into Northern Ireland. I find it all really quite confusing, and an awful lot of it, really, the information quite conflicting.
Well, the information isn't necessarily conflicting.
In my mind, sorry, I'm not saying purposely, I'm on about my interpretation of it.
No, unfortunately, though, the issue that's come into this, Greg, is that politics, domestic British politics, has come into the arena, and that is seen as being far more important than the practicalities. As I said, the implementation committee prior to the 24th of February were actually doing the really difficult work. It's not particularly glamorous, but going through individual product lines and, yes, talking about seed potatoes and all other things like that, and going through what's at risk, what isn't at risk. However, that isn't necessarily of agreement to politics, and of course we do accept there are elements of the protocol that isn't working, but overall it is working. Northern Ireland's economy is growing faster than anywhere else in the UK, and business groups like it, a majority of people in the Assembly, back the protocol. It provides stability, but that doesn't allow for political expediency or for the political wins, be they in Westminster or within DUP circles in Stormont. So unfortunately, what I'd much like to see is the UK to stop with the threats of unilateral action. Just allow the negotiators, very talented European Commission officials, Foreign Office officials who've been doing this for decades in other realms, actually do their job. Remove the politics. Now, unfortunately, the side thing, and it's being used as a convenient excuse from the British government, is the continuing boycott of the DUP, of the executive in Northern Ireland, but also the North-South institutions, which are increasingly important. Nothing will be achieved by those who decide to stand outside the room. In fact, if Northern Ireland actually had a functioning executive, there will be a way for Northern Ireland's ministers to feed into these implementation discussions to address those actual issues that a very small minority of businesses are feeling in Northern Ireland with the protocol, but also to maximise the huge potential. But the mad thing is, a couple of weeks ago, we had a DUP Minister for the Economy in Northern Ireland undertaking a trade mission to the Netherlands with Invest NI, selling the protocol. A DUP minister who opposed the protocol despite backing Brexit was making it quite clear that the protocol gives Northern Ireland and indeed the entire region the best of both worlds. Full access to the European single market and indeed full access to the United Kingdom's market with only checks on maybe 3% of goods at 3 or 4 ports of entry.
Right, okay, so I mean we're on the brink of this now, so the timing of the question is not inappropriate anymore. What would, if this does trigger a trade war, what could it look like and what could the implications be for us here in the Republic of Ireland?
Well, I think we're a bit away from that, and I think it's to be fair to the process that legislation will be announced at 3:30 today. Realistically, it won't be passed through Westminster for 12 to 15 months. There will be opposition to this amongst the Tory backbenches, and it will be defeated in the House of Lords, but eventually pushed through. But what we're looking at immediately, I'd imagine the European Commission will unpause existing legal action that they've taken against the United Kingdom. They'll probably launch new legal action. And what this all leads to is not necessarily a trade war, but the collapse of the existing trade deal and the British government voluntarily deciding to have a no-deal Brexit. That no-deal Brexit that we all warned about and that we were all told was Project Fear, and all of a sudden that means tariffs, that means quotas. It is a really, really worrying economic spectre at a time when we're dealing with escalating cost of living issues, an actual war in Europe, and so many other things. But this, sadly, is a choice of the British government, a choice based solely on political expediency.
Yeah, bizarre stuff, really. Yet we're living through it. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, that's Fine Gael spokesperson on European Affairs, Deputy Neil Richmond, 08660 25,000. Greg, 224 a litre, 226 now, seems to be going up by the hour. P.S. So glad our hard-working politicians can claim their travel expenses back courtesy of us, the taxpayer. Indeed, and every time they get a new delivery, it goes up, and it's worrying. It is worrying. Would you announce on the programme that the Donegal IFA County Executive meeting planned for Tuesday the 14th has had to be cancelled and will be rearranged to another date. So if you're intending on going to that tomorrow night, it's off. Could you please get some information on why the Irish government and the justification of treating Ukrainian soldiers in Irish hospitals, i.e. Dublin and Cork, when we are in the worst health crisis in the history of the state? Letterkenny Hospital is 19,000 alone waiting on day services. Why is this not highlighted on the broadsheets? Answer, please. Is any politician from any party able to justify this? Well, I mean, you justify it because it's to be in solidarity with the Ukrainians, and I imagine, and I'm open to correction, I don't believe the treating of these 5 soldiers will in any way extend waiting lists, but I take your point. Hi, Greg. I was out for a walk and was shocked to see 2 primary school children going to school on e-scooters on the footpath without helmets on a very busy road. I'm not sure they have to wear helmets, but I'm not sure what the law is, in fact, even in them using them on the footpath to begin with. They're out in the fresh air, though. Are they on footpaths? I don't know. A caller says, time there was a change in management in the Donegal team. Declan has done a lot in Ulster. Time he stood aside and someone else get a chance at it with fresh ideas. But what would the fresh ideas be as well? Let's not have a knee-jerk reaction. There's a lot of good in there. Maybe the way we played against Derry is the way we had to play, and they dragged us to that style of play. I don't know. Brendan Devaney will be in after 11. We'll get his views on that. I attended the match yesterday, as I attend all of them. We need to support them during the bad days as well as the good. I have to say the Arsenal supporters are the worst ever for booing. I really hate being in the stands with them. Yeah, the only thing I would say is that, if you take a family of 4 to a game now and probably stop for something to eat on the way, it's really, really very expensive. Obviously, the game's being televised as well. If you've been to previous games and you don't really like the style of play and you find yourself checking your phone rather than watching what's on the pitch, maybe that's why people made the decision not to. But this caller says, cost a fortune to go to the Ulster final. Can't expect people to pay again 2 weeks later. Okay, maybe that's it. Greg, the Mayville Vintage Show was on for far more to see there than travelling to a match that we knew they weren't going to win. Lol, they say. Well, hopefully everything went well with the Mayville Motor Vintage Show. A caller asks, what's the story, or who's to police all the dogs on blue flag beaches, as all I can see over the weekend was dogs? Well, those rules aren't in place yet. They're out to public consultation, though a dog on a beach must still be kept under control, and so on. All right, so, okay, let's take a quick break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
If you are 65 or over, or you have a weak immune system, you can now get your second COVID-19 booster vaccine. Your vaccine is due 4 months after your last vaccine. It will improve your protection from COVID-19. You can book a vaccination centre appointment on hsc.ie or contact a participating GP or pharmacy. For more information on your second booster or to book an appointment, visit hsc.ie or call our team in HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE, for us all.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 91 32033.
Get ready for your holidays with the best brands in fresh new summer colours. Kids clothing for all ages, boys and girls. At Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. Adidas Turo 21 t-shirts and shorts. Match it up with some graphic tees in bright new colours. Under Armour Girls logo range. T-shirts and shorts with matching hoodies and crop leggings. Nike Pro jackets for girls with matching tees and shorts. In-store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Come on down to the annual Finn Valley Show on Russell Brothers Farm, Killygordon, this Saturday 18th of June, with the usual dog, home industries, poultry, sheep, cattle, horse and pony classes, and fast and furious donkey derby, with trade stands, show and shine tractor competition, live music from David James, and children's entertainment. It's sure to be a family fun day at the Finn Valley Show. This ad is sponsored by Kilpatrick Brothers Contracting for all your agri needs: mowing, raking, baling, GPS sowing, slurry or manure spreading. Call Ray or Davey on 087 212 1760.
New this week in Home Store and More. All summer duvets are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price summer duvets are gone, they're gone. Also, all outdoor cushions are still half price. But when all our half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Due to continued expansion, McHugh's Tyres, Railway Street, Strabane are seeking to recruit experienced tyre fitters and vehicle technicians. Excellent package rates are available. For further details, contact McHugh's Tyres on 048 7138 2238. Stick to the road with McHugh's Tyres.
Okay, today the HSE is encouraging men to take action as Mental Health Week 2022 kicks off. The theme this year is Mission is Possible, and the call to action is the action starts with you, focusing on asking everyone, men themselves, service providers and policymakers, to take on realistic and achievable missions, tasks, actions, goals and objectives which will improve men's health. And it is Bill Vaughan from Mental Health Ireland who joins us now. Bill, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
There's ongoing work needs to be done here then, isn't there? Are we making progress, do you believe?
I think we are, yes. I think men are becoming more interested, all right, in looking after their health, but statistics, research would say there's still a good bit to go.
Yeah, there's a strong connection, obviously, between good mental health and good physical health as well, and one feeds into the other. It's they both work very well off each other if you can get one of them right.
Yeah, and I think men are inclined to be more interested in the physical health side of things rather than the mental health and the emotional health. So therefore, when it comes to checkups and things like that, it tends to go down the priority list with men. And that's why we have lower life expectancy. We're more prone to things like cancer detection at later stages. We leave it too late to go to doctors and things like that because it's just not on our radar.
Let's repeat that because obviously the statistics are collective, but it's all individual decisions we are making. So men listening to us today will have something niggling. The body's telling them something. And they'll ignore it and they'll put it off until such time as really they feel like they have to go to the GP. Or maybe they're going to the GP for something else and they'll mention, oh, by the way. Now, what that means is that we're presenting much later to the health services, and that is leading to a large number of problems which become untreatable. Now, problems, if we'd have, said, right, stuff it, I'm going to get this checked out, would have been very treatable. And that's the net result of that is people die younger than they should, and that what feeds into the statistics. I mean, that's the reality of it.
That's exactly right. And I would say it's comparable to, owning a car, but not really kind of taking responsibility for getting it serviced regularly, getting it checked up, changing oil and filter, stuff like that. And then when serious problems come along, men then kind of flag up the serious issues and hope that doctors, surgeons, people like that will be able to do something about it. And unfortunately, at times, it's too late then. Whereas if we took more interest at early stages of even just going for checkups to doctor, getting blood pressures checked, things like that, we can detect this more serious stuff earlier on and do something about it.
Yes, and a lot of chronic illnesses are very preventable as well. Our lifestyles play a big role in us developing chronic diseases. Smoking, drinking, lack of diet, and lack of exercise. These are all things that we can work on, and many of us do it fantastically, and then many of us actually completely ignore it altogether.
Yeah, and it's something, as you say, it's something part of us know that we should be doing, and we would love to be doing, but it just kind of it doesn't sit high enough on the priority list until then it becomes something more serious that we feel, right, I really should need to lose a few pounds now, weight-wise, or I need to be doing more exercise now. And we tend to kind of go at it sporadically for a while until old habits then creep back in again.
Yeah, but life is busy, isn't it? But we can always make time. But, I think people will know where I'm coming from here. And I think when you get to a certain age, like days run into days and weeks run into weeks and months. And 1 minute you're 36 and the next minute you're 52.
Yeah.
And you wonder, what have I done over the last 13 years to try and improve my physical and mental health? I mean, that's kind of what life is like.
And that's where, especially when we get to middle age, we need to prioritise time to sit down with each other and let's look at what we've done over the last 20, 30 years and slow things down, appreciate the moment, enjoy life a bit more, and realise that, looking after our health, it's supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be something we prioritise.
When we talk about mental health, people have concerns about the services that are available, and we have to give people a platform to express that, because we're always fighting for more services. That if you make that call, there's someone there to answer, that if you get that referral, the appointment is not 2 years down the line. So, I just want to ask you, if people, want to look after their mental health and go, you know what, just I haven't been feeling okay, I want to chat to someone, or even maybe, they're feeling in a worse situation. There are supports there. We can always improve them, can't we? But there are supports there and things people can do to improve their mental health. And I think actually it's not just improve it. I think it's like exercise as well. It's to maintain good mental health.
Yeah. There are fantastic supports out there. I'm always saying that statutory, through the formal approach like GP and on to whatever mental health services or even physical health services. But then there's also the informal, like community services, family resource centres, things like Pieta House. You have resources online as well, mindyourmentalhealth.ie. There's some fantastic resources out there, and below all that is the message of taking responsibility for looking after our own mental health. And that, at the core of that, I would always say, is your relationship with yourself. Yeah. And that's where a lot of us struggle, subconsciously.
All right, we seem to have lost James there. Whilst we wait for him to connect, stay right where you are there for a moment. I want to bring James in. James Devaney's from the Letterkenny Community Development Project. They have a mental health event in the Courtyard Shopping Centre on Wednesday. It's from noon until 4 p.m. Thanks, James, for waiting until my show's finished before you host your event. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I presume it's a coincidence. Somebody messing. Right, tell us about this event at the Courtyard Shopping Centre in Letterkenny.
The event is on Wednesday from 12 p.m. until 4 p.m. and it's a lot more than a mental health day. It's looking at mental health, physical health, psychological health, spiritual health. It's looking at all aspects of men's health. It's part of International Men's Health Week. And the theme for this year's International Men's Health Week is the action starts with you. And after the pandemic, where some things, maybe I heard Bill talking about, during the pandemic, maybe some parts of our mental health or physical health or any type of our health has maybe taken a back seat or wouldn't be as high on the priority list. this year, it's about trying to motivate men in particular to start the action about looking about their mental health.
And James, I think that the reason this is so important is that our minds are incredibly clever, aren't they? And if we try and work this stuff out ourselves, our mind can put wee barriers in place. Whereas if you talk to people or talk outwardly, you can start to see the wood for the trees, or you can start to see a pathway to where you want to go. But our own mind, if we just try and work it out ourselves, can work against us sometimes.
Yeah, and actually on the day where a lot of things that we would put maybe to the back burner or we would try and block out, when we're on the day and going round, like we have 25 information stands going to be there on the day, and maybe the one thing that maybe we forgot about or let slip, well, here's my chance now today. On top of the 25 information stalls, we also have 6 healthcare professionals coming on the day to do free health checks. Mm-hmm. We have 2 nurses doing blood pressure checks. We have a dietitian. We have the diabetes service there. They're going to be doing some screening for diabetes that could, maybe on that day, it might be picked up early. Where we have somebody there from Connect Hearing going to be doing free hearing tests. We also have a holistic therapist going to be there for 3 hours too, giving free holistic therapy.
Right, so if you don't know normally where you could go to get this kind of information or how you might go about it, or maybe you're a wee bit nervous of going to the GP, or you've said to yourself, oh, well, I can't afford it, or I might not get an appointment. Here's some of the basic services, and some are a wee bit more than basic, where you can go in and get it sorted there in a different type of environment.
Yes, all pulled together in the one day, in an open, free, non-judgmental environment. Mm-hmm. And where some services are also between 3 and 4, we're going to have guest speakers. One of them actually has been on the show this morning with you, Bill, there. They'll be doing a piece on it as well, where there's guest speakers going to be there talking about their services and other services that's offered within the community. Like we have somebody from the Wellness Cafes coming to do a wee piece. We have people from the Interculture Platform. We have people from the Travellers Project. We have people from a whole raft of different sections of the community, all under the one roof, on the one day for 4 hours.
All right, James, well done. And you just turn up and meander through, presumably, on the day?
Turn up, meander through. There's going to be free non-alcoholic cocktails on the day as well. They're being made by Letterkenny CDP. There will be tea and refreshments there as well between 3 and 4 for the guest speakers. Just want to also mention as well, on the day, it's in conjunction with DLDC. DLDC would be providing some of the funding for the event on the day as well. And you mentioned GPs as well, where you can come on the day. There's no waiting list. Because sometimes now, and it's no fault of the GPs, and I'm not having a slate at them. Sometimes it might take a fortnight to get in to make an appointment, and sometimes by the time the fortnight comes round, as you say, we've talked ourselves out of it again. Yeah. It's all there on the day for anybody. The free health checks are also available to females. It's open to anybody, youths, males, females. It's open to anybody on the day.
Yep. So drag him in if you need to.
drag them in.
All right. Yeah, you can get checked up too. All right, James. Thanks. I think, Bill, sometimes when I speak about things like this, people might think, that everything's rosy in my garden, and that's why I sort of have this kind of an insight. But I'm one of these people. I'm one of these people that tries to put things off. I'm one of these people that erects my own mental barriers to do things that I know I probably should do. So like we all have. I think we all have a wee journey, and it's funny, Bill. James mentioned lockdown. Some people became athletes effectively during lockdown, and then some of us went the other direction.
Yeah. It's that kind of struggle we have with ourselves, and there's a connection. We all kind of love a connection with each other. That whole community sense. What James talked about there, the event we're having there. That's bringing together over 20 different organisations, and there's a feel-good factor with events like that we really missed over COVID. And men in particular love doing rather than being. We feel more comfortable when we're doing something. We have a walk-in football event this evening in the community centre, and you're welcome to come along and try that, Greg. That'll get your week off.
It sounds a bit fast-paced for me. When you start doing doing standing football events like we'd be Sabutio, let me know. Not Sabutio, but that fizzball. Where is that taking place, Bill?
Pardon?
Where's the event tonight taking place?
It's in the community centre in Letterkenny on the AstroTurf pitch.
Yeah.
I've driven along past it since the fir trees were taken down, and I just keep saying to myself, I'm well in my 50s, and I just keep saying to myself, I would love one more go. There was never any AstroTurf pitches when we were young. It was just muddy fields, and it just looks so well when you're looking down in it. So there's actually it's a growing sport, walking football, and the community centre and the sports partnership are looking to see about having future events in walking football. So this is just a tester for anyone. It's not about competitiveness. It's about having a laugh, getting a bit of exercise, having a chat with the rest of the men who come down.
All right, listen, and there's so much more besides. I'm sure we'll touch on more of this throughout the course of the week.
Just mention, Greg,
Go ahead, Bill.
If anyone wants to know more about the international campaign, if they just go to Men's Health Forum Ireland.org, a brilliant website, and it can give you lots of supports and links for anything to do with men's overall health.
Okay, Bill, great stuff as always. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourself, and thanks to James as well. 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts to that number. You can also watch us. Go on our website highlandradio.com, and you'll see the Watch Live there, and you can see most of our guests coming on the programme. Now that fuel and electric has gone up, I think the government needs to give people a rise in money to help us survive. Yeah, and that's going to be a political football in and of itself, don't you know? Right, let's take a very short break. We're going to be speaking to one listener about yesterday's football match.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
This time of year, we're all thinking about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleetwood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleetwood would, naturally.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Quick, write this number down. 91 48 234. Fleming Doors, you know. Industrial doors, garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
Derrickfest, Castle Derrick, Friday the 29th of July, featuring Derek Ryan, Johnny Briddy, Jimmy Donnelly, all under the big top tent. For ticket information, check out Derrickfest Music Festival Facebook page.
This ad is kindly sponsored by Sayers Engineering, Castle Derrick. The band everyone is talking about, the Seeger Sessions Revival, the 13-piece band playing the music of Bruce Springsteen's Seeger Sessions at the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town on Father's Day, Sunday 19th of June, 3 till 5 p.m. Tickets available now at eventbrite.ie.
Okay, Mark, you watched the game yesterday. You didn't go to the match. Do you normally go to games, or do you normally watch at home?
Well, this last few years I've always watched them at home because I like the commentary and interviews at half time and that.
I get you, and a bit of punditry and what have you. Right, so what's your read of the game yesterday then?
My read's the same as the type of football we've been playing this last 4 or 5 years. Like, we're not, we have no defensive structure at all. Like, if you go back 4 or 5 years with the county team there, the amount of scores we're conceding and the amount of scores that we have to get to win games in the last 3, 4, 5 years is unbelievable. Like, we have no defensive structure. I mean, there are no tackles going on around the 40 and the 50. We're retreating in front of the incoming forwards all the time. Like, and I mean, it's I don't know. Like, it's just not on the way we're playing. Like,
you don't enjoy watching it, or you just don't like how we're playing?
I mean, like, it stands up for itself. Like, I mean, it's not working. Like.
And did you watch any of the other games over the weekend? Did you watch Clare Roscommon? I mean, that was a cracking game. I mean, did you see in that game what you'd like to have seen from Donegal, for example?
Go attack the game more, like, and get more men onto play. I mean, we're playing a rugby league type Gaelic football match, where you're playing across the park, and then
the lateral play. It's like in we're playing in sequences.
Yeah.
Mm. And did you find yesterday that, I mean, there was a turning point? Did you feel like the black card was a turning point, or there was a point whereby, you know, our kickouts, we started to get it wrong and Armagh started to get it right?
No, I don't know. But when you look back at it, we scored 4 or 5 great long range points, like. But even at that stage when we were at the top, we weren't getting men free on the inside where there'd been a chance of a goal. See, Armagh got their men inside us all the time. Like, it was a complete difference.
So, I mean, the talent is there, though, isn't it? You believe it's how they've been.
We have the talent, there's no doubt about it. But we're playing that caveman football now this 4 or 5 years. That's not on.
All right. What do you think of Armagh's chances now, having watched them yesterday?
I think they'll give it's a 50-50 game between them and Galway.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great result. It's a great draw for them to progress. I think it's actually slightly better than 50-50. For those who aren't aware, by the way, Derry have been drawn to play Clare. That's actually going to be a great game, I would say.
It'll be a cracking game, but Derry should be favourites there.
Yeah, I think so. Dublin versus Cork, you'd have to back the Dubs there.
The Dubs, aye.
And Kerry versus Mayo.
Kerry versus Mayo, Kerry there too. Mayo weren't too impressive on Saturday either.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you have it. So you've picked it. We'll see how we go. It'd be lovely if we were still in there, but we're not, Mark. You know, it's hard to believe we've no interest really in. Obviously, we've got listeners in Derry who have, but we've no interest in Donegal football.
But it's tough.
Yeah, okay.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I know management's a hard game, like, and it's a hard job to do. And I mean, you're trying to keep maybe 25 players happy all the time. Like, and I know it's a hard job to do, but I mean, you've got to have a plan B. We're playing the one style of football all the time, but we're not playing with no intensity either. Like, because we have no men running off the shoulder like we used to do in 2012 and 11 and 12. Like,
did you feel that Armagh had a plan B and put it into action yesterday?
They did, surely. I mean,
Yeah, okay. You believe they did.
I mean, Armagh learned a lot from the game in Ballafay and from watching us against Gavin and Derry. Like.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Listen, Mark, thanks for that. Take care of yourself. I appreciate it. Mark, what do you think? Do you agree with him?
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Your energy savings start right here, right now with Bord Gosh Energy. New and existing customers can save up to €988 with our best dual fuel offer. Find out more at boardgoshenergy.ie. Discounts on our standard unit rates for 12 months with fixed term dual fuel contract. Annual savings figure compared to BGE standard rates. Offer available to new and existing single fuel customers. EAB of €2,078. Unit rate and standing charge apply. See boardgoshenergy.ie for EAB prices and full T's and C's.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Is your Skoda a little older? Pre-loved, perhaps? What adventures, I wonder, did it have in the past? Another family, another life, bright city lights, or a quiet country existence seeing Ireland's best sights? We don't really need your car's story. With a Skoda service, you get a complete vehicle health check, genuine Skoda parts, and free roadside assistance for 12 months.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 97 21396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Pet Value have a brand new store at St Mary's Road, Buncrana. I called in at the weekend. The animals are incredible. Plus, they have so much on offer. They know a lot about what is best for your pets, from the smallest fish to the largest dog. Pet Value Buncrana. They care about your pets.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnford. Doors open 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €5,650 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Okay, some of your comments here bringing us up to the news at 11. Bill is such a great speaker. That's Bill Vaughan. Always there to listen. Did a few courses with him and they were brilliant on the football. Greg, as a listener, I'm very disappointed that nobody from the Donegal team of management spoke to the media after the game. This needs to be brought to the board. I think somebody should come out to comments when your supporters do so much to support you. Yeah, I can understand it, to be honest with you. You know, it's they're going to be gutted and devastated. And what do you say in the heat of that moment? And, you know, the obvious questions that might be asked, not from the likes of our team here, but nationally, you know, straight on to not talking about the game or what next. It's going to be like, well, you know, are you going to resign? You know yourself. Greg, attending these games is getting more and more expensive. I think that should be noted with the cost of living becoming on the rise. Indeed, I get that, of course. So a lot of you were saying finances was part of the issue as to why you didn't turn up, but we'll be talking about more about that in the second hour. You are tuned to your number one local radio station, Highland Radio. We have a busy hour. Stay with us. You don't want to miss it. But at 11 o'clock, it's time to take a break for the news now. And we say good morning to Donald Kavanagh.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Foreign Affairs Minister says the UK's intention to scrap parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol mark a new low in relations. Simon Coveney spoke to his British counterpart Liz Truss in a 7 to 12-minute phone call this morning. He reiterated his warning that the legislation to be announced in the House of Commons today will break international law. Meanwhile, former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern says relations between Dublin and London at present are deplorable. Donegal TD Thomas Pringle is calling for an independent inquiry into instances of sexual abuse at the Ardgrania Court complex in Stranraer after it emerged at the weekend that 11 more cases have been referred to An Garda Síochána. It's believed the cases occurred between 1991 and 2002. They were unearthed after the HSE internally published a second validation report following the partial publication last year of the Brandon report. Deputy Pringle spoke with Greg on the programme this morning. You can hear a large portion of that interview on our website, highlandradio.com. A silent protest is taking place today between 12 midday and 8 p.m. in St Bridget's Hall, Letterkenny ward to show local opposition to proposed wind turbine developments. The Gurbara Conservation Group says 5,266 people have already signed a petition opposing what they term industrial wind turbines in what is a special area of conservation. Civil cases brought by the families of 9 people killed at Ballymurphy in Belfast in 1971 against the British Ministry of Defence have been settled. At the High Court in Belfast, Mr Justice Humphreys said the settlement represents the end of a very long process for the families. The amounts paid out in each case were not disclosed, but the judge ordered the Ministry of Defence should pay legal costs. A statement from the families said they had secured significant payment in damages. And Letterkenny has reached its highest ever position in the Irish Business Against Litter ranking of 40 towns and cities. Letterkenny was deemed cleaner than European norms and ranked second in the country after Naas. Among the areas which were highlighted as being particularly good or improved were Letterkenny University Hospital, the Bernard McGlinchey Town Park, the Letterkenny Retail Park and Letterkenny Bus Station. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
OK, Donald, thank you very much indeed for that. As I mentioned, Brendan Devaney will be on previewing the DL debate podcast, and also and hop on to our website. You can watch the show, by the way. You can see Brendan in studio, but we'll also have in studio Angela Tourish, who is the former manager of ICARE. We're going to be having a sit-down chat with Angela, talking about how she got involved with ICARE, established it effectively, what that journey was like, and why she decided to step away. I'm looking forward to speaking to Angela, a real hero, you know, and I don't bandy that word around, but these people are absolutely amazing, and chief amongst them is Angela Tourish there. Okay, right. Dr. Denise McCartney is psychologist and author of Parental Alienation, an evidence-based approach, a clinical psychologist that is. Good morning to you, Dr. McCartney. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Hi, Greg. It's Denise. Thank you.
Sorry, I thought I said... What did I say?
Oh, you said Denise, but you were calling me Dr. McCartney. Sorry,
I thought I'd called you something else altogether. Sorry about that. I understand, Denise. I get exactly where you're coming from. Thank you very much for joining us. Right, so, I mean... Should we start off with a description of parental alienation? Like, what is it?
Parental alienation is a situation where parents typically have separated, and one parent is influencing the child or children so that they no longer want to see the other parent. In a nutshell, that's what it is.
And this could be regardless of the gender, or do we see it more prevalent in certain relationships after they've broken up, or what's the situation there, Denise?
Yes, well, traditionally, there is no gender difference, I should say, before I begin, but traditionally it has happened more frequently with women influencing the children, because the children were typically left in the care of women after they separated from their partners. These days, sometimes, it's generally accepted that there's no gender difference in the likelihood of someone alienating a child, but I'm seeing more cases now where men are alienating their children, sometimes from, the male is a residential parent, but also sometimes from contact, which is a bit of a worrying trend.
Whereas they can look like, because they don't have full-time care, they can look like, the best in the world, and then make the parent who has primary custody being the one with all the rules and the restrictions and having to go to bed and you have to do your homework, whereas you can look like a hero at the weekends.
Yes,
or whatever it might be. Okay. Is this weaponizing children, as part of the breakup of a relationship? What would motivate someone to engage in parental alienation, do you think?
Yeah, a few studies have looked at this, and one of the main issues is revenge, unfortunately. And so, I don't think it's about not knowing the harm that people are doing when they do this, because when you tell them how much harm they're doing, it doesn't seem to change anything. And so most of the research, that's in my clinical experience, but most of the research suggests that this happens out of revenge, really. People want to.
But is there a psychological space, though, whereby, what ordinarily really, really caring parents would probably give their own life for their child, would be prepared to, emotionally damage their child as a means to an end? Like, there has to be something that allows those two things to sort of live in the same space.
Yes, I know what you mean. I think that sometimes parents don't accept that they're harming their children. So they're dismissive when you try and tell them. They disregard everything you say. Or, they just can't accept that not seeing their ex is going to be in any way harmful. And sometimes parents say, oh, well, I've got a new partner now, and they fulfill that role. But in my view, you really only have one mum and one dad, or you can have two mums or two dads, I know, in some families these days, but not everyone. You can't just replace someone with another human being and think, well, this is okay. We've got a new person now.
Yeah.
But, it's not really.
But how do we resolve this though? Because it's so subjective too. Like you might have the mom or dad who believes what they're doing is the right thing. They might believe that the other parent is not a good influence. They might not like their lifestyle choices. Maybe they're not paying the maintenance that they should. But still, all the while, by withholding, say, for instance, access to the child and maybe their grandparents on that side, they're still inflicting potential damage on the child as well. So how do we? We talk about it, but it's so complicated. How do we resolve it?
Well, it's very complicated, which is why it's been recognised for a couple of 100 years, really, now. But a resolution hasn't really been found. There have been lots of attempts to try and fix things, and a child has a right to see both parents after a relationship has broken up. So it's about the child's needs, and part of the child's needs, or one of the child's needs, following a breakup, that the resident parent has to meet, is the child's need to have a relationship with their other parent. And that's, I think, where resident parents in these types of situations struggle.
Does this need to be positioned in law?
Well, there have been some attempts to position it in law. I'm not a lawyer, obviously. I don't come from a law background. I do know, however, that the child has a legal right to see their other parent, and that is something that the resident parent has to, it's a need that they have to fulfil. I suppose I'm repeating myself a little bit there.
No, I understand.
That's as far as I know with it, really, in terms of law.
Well, in terms of, are we more likely to see parental alienation outside of a court-decided access? In other words, is there enough oversight and follow through on, say, for instance, court orders as it relates to access to the children, that someone who believes they're being alienated can raise this, and this could work against the person alleged to be engaging in parental alienation? Could that be a way to sort of try and reduce it?
Well, yes, that has been done really for many years. That has been happening.
But is it working?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I don't think it is working, really. It's helping and raising the awareness of parental alienation, which is why programs like this are very important. And it's about for everyone to know, because the thing that parents say over and over again is that they feel very alone. And when this situation happens to them, and they feel like they're the only person it ever happens to, and it takes them quite a long time to connect with other parents. Typically, in my experience anyway, it takes quite a long time for people to understand that they're not alone and that other parents have similar situations, and there are support groups available for them if they want help.
Right, so this webinar is taking place on Monday the 20th of June at 6 p.m, Dublin, Ireland time, and I presume people can go on to Eventbrite or alienated.ie to gain access or to send in questions.
Yes.
How much of the questions, or how many of the questions do we know the answers to, or are we still working through, Denise, precisely where we're at?
I think we are beginning to look at some answers. I think we're beginning to improve the recognition of the issues associated with parental alienation. I think that for a long time it wasn't, people were dismissed and weren't listened to. And I think now there is a general acceptance and understanding that this does happen. It's just what do we do about it is the next thing, really. And there have been some moves in some. This is a worldwide problem, and there have been some moves in some countries to try and introduce things to try and bring about change. But it's not very easy, and it is very complex. And if someone, a resident parent, accuses an ex of mistreating the children, of course, no one wants to think that children have been mistreated. So everyone is very anxious then about trying to recommend contact to someone who's been accused of mistreating children.
Yes, there seems so many pathways to a stalemate rather than a resolution.
Yes, there are lots of pathways to stalemate rather than a resolution. That's exactly right.
And can we address that, though, or is this just going to be, well, what we can try and do is influence people not to, to put the child first? Is this really campaigning to people's better judgment rather than us being able to come up with some sort of, court or legislative solution to this?
I think there is, my understanding is there is there's two answers to that question. So sorry. My understanding is there is a move to try and bring about change in court to try and improve the situation. And I believe in Brazil, parental alienation is against the law. But I don't know how they define it there. But the main problem we have in this country is that we have problems defining parental alienation. That's a main problem across the world. That's not just here, that's everywhere. And I feel that this is just a personal view. I feel that if we had tighter definitions of what it meant exactly, it reduces the amount of time and effort and energy spent on arguing about whether this is something or it isn't something.
For sure. But all in all, whilst, because this is about children's first, whilst we figure it out or what we put in place, we have to ensure that we're not even maybe worsening the situation for a child.
Well, exactly. Yes, that's very true. And being involved in conflict, of course, is very bad for children. And everybody, I think that's general knowledge now, but of course there's lots and lots of research to support that. That if children are exposed to their parents' arguments, that has a really negative effect on them, a long-term impact.
Okay.
So there's a move to try and stop that.
Okay, well, it's good to see it being discussed, and it's good to see this webinar is coming up. Solutions for Parental Alienation is part of the focus of the discussion. On Monday, the 20th of June at 6 p.m. You can go to Eventbrite or alienated.ie for more information. Dr. Denise McCartan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Greg.
Take
Thanks
care
so
of yourself. Bye-bye. Okay, it's a complex one, isn't it? And there's different points of views. Louise Cook's an independent researcher and joins us now. Hi, Louise.
Oh, hi there. Am I on?
You are. You're live with Greg here. Good morning to you.
Oh, excellent. I've never been on the radio before. Thank
No
you
problem.
so much.
All right, Louise. What are your concerns?
Well, so what I'm saying is nobody sensible argues that mothers never unreasonably or maliciously obstruct contact between fathers and children following separation and divorce. But the international evidence, particularly Joan Mayer's research from the United States, and certainly my own experience researching this, reveals that parental alienation ideology is used overwhelmingly by abusive, controlling and dangerous men to silence the voice of the children and cast themselves as the true victims and the protected mothers as perpetrators of serious emotional child abuse.
But if that is our starting point, Louise, right, then if we are going to look at this, and because you don't want this to happen, I don't want it to happen, then we have to deal with that and weed that out as part of this process, don't we? Rather than that just being a hardened position from us to begin with. Yes, you're probably right, Louise, you've done the research, but just fixing that need not to be part of this process, and that makes this process worthwhile.
Well, if you look at the actual parental alienation ideology and where it came from a man in America, in New Jersey, called Richard Gardner, who had some very, very disturbing ideas. He used to represent lots and lots of fathers in custody battles who were accused of child sexual abuse. Now, I have him on video saying that if a child discloses to the mother that they're being sexually abused by the father, the mother should chastise the child.
But I mean, we don't accept that, Louise.
Well, no, because a lot of these parental alienation experts actually still explicitly or implicitly follow Gardner's rules, okay, and Gardner's ideology. He wrote that children are naturally sexual and may initiate sexual encounters by seducing
But that fellow's got a problem. He's got a problem if he holds that point of view.
But I know that there's a psychotherapist who says on her blog that she's working in Ireland. She's from England. She's working in Ireland, and she is a follower of the Gardner ideology.
Right. Well, let's say, for instance, we go down a different route. Let's just talk about two situations. If there's two people listening to us right now, one is a situation where, and we'll go with the mum and versus the dad for the purpose of this example. So a mum and dad split up, right? Parents split up, and it wasn't an amicable split up, but the man's a very good man and loving father, and the woman is a good mum and a loving mum. But because of that breakup, okay, she maybe wants to punish the father and withholds access to that child. I think we could both agree that's not good for the child and needs to be looked at. Second scenario, which is one you're probably talking to, a woman was in an abusive relationship. She left the partner. The child says that dad has been hitting the child, and mum says, right, I don't want this child around that person because he's continuing the abuse against that child that he started on me. Two very different situations. Surely we should have a system whereby for the child in the first case, they get access to both parents and it's good for everyone. In the second case, keep that man as much as is possible out of that child's life.
Yeah, and you are absolutely
And then
right.
we approach it like that there, and we weed out the type of stuff that you're talking about, dismiss that, but we realise and recognise that there is a problem, and what's best for the child is for us to find a way to fix that without throwing in maybe the extremes with respect, Louise.
Well, you certainly do not want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, because as I said, I do not deny, nobody sensible denies that this can happen. But what is happening is that these parental alienation experts, whether they're some of them are unregulated, and I know that there are some unregulated ones working in Northern Ireland and I believe in the Republic of Ireland over from England, but also regulated ones. Sometimes they hold to an ideology which is very problematic.
Yeah, and we have to read that out. No more so, Louise, than we have heard awful cases of charities that we send money to, and they go out and help people, allegedly help people. The most of them do very well in far-flung countries, but that is used as a means to by someone they've been before the courts to actually not help children, but to abuse them. But that does not mean that we still don't have very good children charities that we support. Do you get where I'm coming from? It's the emotive arguments,
totally
Louise. I just don't think we get anywhere.
Yeah, it's incredibly, incredibly complicated. But I need to draw your attention to the international stuff on this. So if I just explain to you that internationally people are starting to come out against this, because as Denise said, it is an international problem, but she's approaching it from the other perspective of, oh, it's a problem. And we're saying this ideology is becoming a worldwide threat to women and children. Parental alienation ideology is explicitly condemned by the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, the United Nations Committee for the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, to which Ireland is a state party, and the Council of Europe Istanbul Convention, to which Ireland is a state party. Now, there is a group of experts with the acronym GREVIO, which monitors the implementation of the Istanbul Convention in all the countries that have ratified the convention. Each country has to undergo an evaluation by GREVIO. Ireland is about to undergo its own evaluation, and Ireland is going to be absolutely hammered in the GREVIO report, particularly if Helen McEntee, the Justice Minister, decides to criminalise so-called parental alienation, effectively criminalising mothers for supporting and protecting their children.
Or fathers as well, because it's not specific to mothers.
Well, I need to point out that Denise is saying yes, it's gender neutral. We shouldn't exactly say that. That is a core plank of the ideology and more of the campaigning and the lobbying, that they say it's gender neutral. It is not gender neutral. Last summer, Spain outlawed the use of parental alienation ideology by all public bodies following a damning critique from the United Nations. And the semi-autonomous government of Catalonia in the northeast of Spain formally recognised the use of parental alienation ideology as state violence against women. The Italian Supreme Court last year ruled the court of parental alienation ideology inadmissible. Okay? And I was not convinced. When I started looking at this 2 years ago, okay, I was not convinced. I was sceptical because, like anybody else, everybody knows women who behave inadvisably in a case of separation or divorce. It can become messy. Nobody denies that. However, what convinced me was going on Twitter and being subjected to the most horrendous abuse. Okay, I have threats, trolling, malicious complaints. Not just me. Okay, I've had malicious complaints made about me, about my mental health, about me to the police.
I get.
This happens to the London Victims Commission.
And I'm not diminishing that at all. But Twitter is a cesspit in any case.
Well, Twitter is a cesspit, but these people go beyond that. They are incredibly aggressive.
I understand.
Any academic who stands up against this gets vexatious complaints made to their employers, and people try to hound them out of their jobs. They're incredibly aggressive, and that's really actually entrenched. I don't want to say I'm entrenched.
I know, but you see, the problem is, and this was from the start off, is it's difficult because obviously. Your conversation was talking a bit about the ideology and talking about some of them that might push it, might be involved in child abuse or something along those lines, right? And then they, from the other side, will say some of the accusations against you, and it gets us nowhere. Like the word parental alienation. Maybe if we had a different way of describing it and move forward in that direction, if so much negativity has been associated with that terminology, all I want is that what's best for children.
What's best for children is absolutely that if people are having a real problem in their separation and they're so angry and rancorous towards each other that they need help, but they're basically both acting in good faith and they are capable of putting their children first with help, I absolutely accept that they should be getting assistance. But people, I'm sorry to say, people who specialise specifically in parental alienation are
it's a very sweeping statement.
Linked with men's rights.
Louise, I just have to be. I understand. We just have to be a wee bit careful with the sweeping statements because, there's some people involved in the movement in Donegal that may have none of the connections or probably don't have that you talk of. But I understand.
I suspect that I know of them all, and I would be able to provide substantiation.
Well, okay. Well, I don't know precisely who you're talking about, but anyway, Louise, thanks for your time this morning. Louise Cook, there, as you say, that issue is. There's very strong views on both sides there, and you try and go down the middle, but it's very, very difficult, as you can hear. All right, we heard two sides to it there anyway.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Start playing NCBI Radio Bingo today. 3 chances a day, 5 days a week to win daily prizes of €400 plus. Not to mention a weekly jackpot of €5,000 upwards. Books available at your local retailer for just €5 each. It couldn't be simpler. Real money, real people.
Brave lives behind every open sign, behind every add to cart, or how would you like to pay today? At AIB Merchant Services, we back Brave with payments and business solutions designed to fit your business needs, whether that's in-store, online, or on the go. To discover more about how AIB Merchant Services can grow your business, search AIBMS.com. AIB, we back Brave. First Merchant Processing Ireland DAC Trading as AIB Merchant Services is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. €10 million worth of stock in store and ready to take home. All tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything slashed in price. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Ireland's biggest range, best prices, and in store to take home today. Sale extended until Sunday.
Driving a Fiat 500e is choosing an all-new, all-electric car with an impressive range and not to 80% fast charging in 30 minutes. It's choosing a car that's so full of tech it will confidently and safely drive you into the next decade. It's choosing to believe in a better tomorrow. Welcome back, future. Fiat 500e prices start at €24,995 after government subsidies. Book a test drive at Joseph Doherty Limited, Moville, or visit fiat.ie.
The door for claiming High Court redress on homes built with defective blocks is closing. If you've been affected, you must act now to get justice. Don't, and your claim, like your house, could crumble. To discuss your options with our legal team at the Gateway Hotel Buncrana on the 15th or 16th of June, email defectiveblocks@colemanlegal.ie or call 01 531 3800. Participation is free of charge. Defective Blocks Ireland, building the case for rebuilding your home.
Holiday envy. It's a real thing. Feeling a bit jealous as the neighbours pack for their hollybobs. Ah, the fun they'll have. The sun they'll soak up as they pack kayaks, a 32-inch TV, washer dryer, fridge, into their white van. It's the neighbours who should have holiday envy of your phone watch alarm as you leave all your belongings at home and just take a carry-on. Protect your home and your pride. Get a phone watch alarm system installed for just €49 before June 30th at phonewatch.ie. Monitoring fees apply.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
You can do pretty much anything in just a few taps. Buy a car, book a holiday, and now you can even apply for a permanent TSB digital current account in-app in minutes. It's quick, it's mobile, it's the start of making your everyday banking easier. Now that's permanent support. Application in your sole name for over 18 personal customers and residents of the Republic of Ireland only. Qualifying criteria, terms and conditions apply. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Summer Jam in Strabane, Saturday the 18th of June, 12 till 5 p.m. Come and join the fun in Strabane Town Centre with live music, funfair rides, street animation, circus shows, arts and crafts, Strabane Market, food quarter, petting zoo, dance shows, baby dinosaurs, plus fantastic promotions throughout the town. Full programme, visit derrystrabane.com/summerjam.
CETA, the global leader in technologies enabling safe and seamless global travel, is growing its technical teams in Letterkenny. We are searching for people with a passion for innovation and the technical skills to build the next generation of digital products that will transform the journeys of millions of passengers across the world. Join us at our Tech Open Night at CETA's Letterkenny offices on Thursday, June 23rd between 5:30 and 9 p.m. Discover the digital products that we develop, meet the local teams, and enjoy some food and drinks on us. To attend, please register at ceta.aero/Letterkenny. Come and build the future of travel with us.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
Okay, Brendan Devaney's in studio with us. He's preparing his DL debate podcast and has called in to go through, I suppose, what we're all talking about is yesterday's game. We all chat amongst our mates and all, and, this sort of, everyone was talking about this sort of negative style against Derry, and then yesterday it was like, wow, this is great. Yeah. We overcome the early setback, playing really good. It was a good game to watch. Yeah. But then things changed. What happened?
Yeah, do you know what? I was trying to find out that from the Armagh ones yesterday. Was it a tactical change from the line, or was it just how the game kind of evolved? Because in that period you're talking about after that goal, Donegal were absolutely brilliant. There was space over the pitch. The match itself was brilliant from a neutral's perspective, and from Donegal fans. Very few Donegal fans there again yesterday, Eric, and I'm just wondering how much of that was the style of play from the Ulster final. But there wasn't a huge crowd that Ulster final, particularly, look, Derry on the way up, Armagh on the way up, completely outnumbering us. But whatever fans were in front of us, I was covering the game with Radio Ulster yesterday, there was a lot of Donegal fans in that Jerry Arthur stand, and they were getting really vocal. And I think as much as they were excited by what Donegal was doing, the game itself was brilliant, because after the horror show of the Ulster final, we suddenly had an end-to-end game. The best, I suppose, we've seen of Donegal in that period, where they hit 6 points in a row, almost went 10-5 up. It was 9 points to 1-2, and you thought, wow, this Donegal team is coming again. But after that, Greg, the swing.
Well, what was the swing? Because early on, Armagh weren't scoring. I think they scored just the goal in the first 10 minutes. There were, two scores in the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe a bit more than that. But Donegal seemed to be scoring quite freely, and then the tables turned.
Yeah, if you go back to, I suppose, the two previous games against Armagh, Greg, and in Letterkenny, towards the end of that match, Armagh sent on their better players, squeezed up in Donegal, and really put the panics on our kick out, and had us boxed in. Should have actually won that game, Letterkenny. It was, and looking at that going into Ballbafay, then I thought these boys are going to be hard to work with. Championship should be different, but they're going to be hard to work with. But when Armagh came to Ballbafay, they played with fear because Donegal's record, I think, at Ballbafay, they wanted to maybe work themselves into the game. They allowed us for a kick out, and they didn't go for us in terms of what they did at the weekend. Now, so we beat them by 7 points. Now, bear in mind, we lost by 10. That's a 17-point swing, Greg, which is unbelievable when you think of two close Ulster teams. The fact that we beat them so well, and the fact that we got hammered in the end yesterday. But when they squeezed up on us, Greg, and physically went at us, you look at our back line, Greg, we don't have physical power at the back. And when they went for us, and even went for us all over the pitch, we talked about our midfield dominance the last day against Armagh. Jason McGee and fellas like this had a brilliant game, We had so much hype, and you looked at Langan and Murphy coming out in that. But I think their just attitude towards the kick out and squeezing up on ours, when they went long, they horsed us all around the pitch. I mean, if you look what Farker did to Murphy in terms of how he was all over them, and the same with Morgan and Conor O'Neill's players, they were getting about our lads, and when our lads got in there 45 after that 20-minute period, there was 2 or 3 Armagh ones around them. At the other end of the pitch, Armagh were mixing up their game with kicking, but one-on-one, every Armagh forward could engage with our defenders. We don't have physical power, we just don't have it.
Yeah, but you have the ability to look at this in a far more analytical and informed way than I do, as being a former player and all. But like the black card seemed to be a turning point for me, right? And I obviously don't know enough about the game, but what I thought, would you not in that situation, is put an outfield player that's already on the pitch in the goal, right, and sort of try and limit any damage till you get to half time and get back to full complement, instead of taking influential players off, using up 3 substitutions to sort of make that happen. For me, as I say, for someone who doesn't know as much as you do, that seemed to be a turning point. And what would the logic have been there?
Well, Greg, I think the turning point was more, that we didn't learn from our kickouts against Derry. The game swung for me with short kickouts that Derry squeezed up on us, and it happened again. And the thing I suppose the most worrying about is the first one we got away with, Keelan March somehow saved when Armagh burned down goals. There was a man inside, Keelan March saved it with his leg, so we got away with it. The next kick out we went short again, but Cole loses it. 3 Armagh boys converge on him. The ball ends up with that whole incident. So you black card, you lose a keeper penalty, right? So that why we didn't go long with that next kick out is because when Lynch come on straight away, in fairness to him, he goes right, put the ball out long. Langan wins the ball out the pitch, calls the mark, and we end up getting a free, and we get a score. So that, I suppose, Greg, a lot of fans will think, why would we chance going short? Because if we lose it out the pitch, we're not going to concede a goal. Now, we did get that last point then, and we didn't half time 4 points down. I thought we were lucky to be 4 down because Armagh really went at us. But then the start of that second half is where I think the tale was told, because we got a goal against Derry the last day, goal and a point at the start of the second half. But this time we conceded 2 quick ones, and then we conceded another. It was 3 points in a row. And at that point, we were really thinking, we're okay. No, a few times our boys did come back. They did try.
Yeah, but you're talking about Armagh switching it up, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people were sort of critical, say, for instance, towards the end of the Derry game, that we didn't switch it up to suit what was happening on the pitch at that time and the score positions at that time. Like, are we lacking the ability or the motivation to change mid-game or in phases of play when it's the right time to do it?
Listen, we were beat by a better team yesterday. Sometimes you've got to just hold your hands up.
So there's no point analysing it at all,
Well, I'll tell you this, you can analyse all you want, Greg. Everybody's playing the same way to a degree, right? And what Armagh did yesterday, physically they had too much power for us, and they had too much pace, and when they man for man on our back line, we can't handle power like that. We just couldn't handle it. You look at Rian O'Neill, the point that he hit in the second half, he was dovetailing around. He was like a senior player playing in an under-16 game. No one could get near him. And at the end of the day, our blanket defence sometimes, because teams have backed off us. You look at Derry in many ways, still backed off us. They didn't actually go for a jugular until they went for those kickouts. And Armagh looked at that and realised that in Ballybofey they didn't go for us. So when they went for us in, we were shaken.
Right, so the Donegal puzzle then has been solved. What next then?
Well, we need to unearth a few powerful players at the back, Greg. Listen, physicality is one of the biggest things in GAA now, and I just see that, particularly with our defenders at the back, we're not able to handle. Every one of them Armagh guys was causing their players one-on-one trouble at the back, and I think at the other end of the pitch, when McBurty or Murphy or anybody got the ball, there's 3 or 4 Armagh players swarming around them. So the only way you get around not having physical power is to be swarming players and everybody tackling. We didn't have enough of that happening.
Right.
Like
So you talked about our kickouts there, right? Donegal's kickouts, sorry, I should say. A decision was made at some point for us to start doing short kickouts or to stick with that strategy. Who makes that call? Is it the goalie?
Well, it has to be down to Pat. Now, the 2 kicks before them short ones were both won by Armagh when we went long. So these things really, you're not really blaming. Listen, Pat was
I'm not blaming anyone, by the way.
He's probably thinking at that stage we've lost 2. We need to go short to get possession, to get ourselves a bit more back into the game. So it's not to say that it's a right or wrong decision. You know, the two ones went long, were lost, and then the 2 short ones. The only difference is, I say, Greg, if they go out the pitch and we lose them, at least you're grouped in there that you're not going to concede a goal, because both of them kicks.
But that call's made on the pitch, for example. And the only reason I'm asking these questions is to try and sort of have the same conversation as people had it in the pub last night or around lunch. Do you know what I mean? To try and get to the...
There's a deeper thing here, Greg. If you really want to look at where football's at now, Donegal, to me, playing the same way they're playing, a lot of teams are playing it now, in terms of everybody dropping back and going forward, they just look a bit jaded. Monaghan looked the same. Tyrone, I think, got a lift off their management last year, but they looked the same again this year. And if you look at the 2 teams that are coming with all the energy, Derry and Armagh, because they've been down there for so long. So I think that energy of them teams on the way back up is driving them.
So do you think then we should maintain the current setup and we need to look for, more physical players in certain positions? Because don't want to sort of add to it, but you know yourself what a lot of people feel should happen. Maybe a change of management. But from what you're saying, you don't seem to think, or do you're not putting words in your mouth, that it's the tools you have to work with. So what's your feeling as to the future? We've got a long time now, unfortunately, to reflect on this. Do you want to see things kept as they are and go out and search for the players that you talk of, or does it need a fresh pair of eyes? So I don't know. What?
I suppose there's always a bounce off of freshening. I just think that it'd be very difficult. I think it's Declan Bonner's decision to do it, and simply because the weight of what Declan Bonner's put into GAA in this world, we have to give the man his respect. You know, he's one of the best underage players going right back to his youth Donegal have ever had.
We've given an awful lot to the
then
county.
Through his whole playing days to all his management underage, twice doing senior. So listen, I'm not going to say anything to Declan Bonner around what he wants to do. That's his decision. Listen, Greg, everybody's playing in a similar fashion. It really comes down to the players that you have at your disposal. And if you think back to our brilliant teams of the past, when Neil and Eamon McGee, Frank McGann, Carl Lacey and these boys were in their pomp, we don't really have those type of players in there at the minute. And that's just the way it is, And I think the blanket defence in some ways with players dropping back masks what we have. But when a team really goes for you and they have the quality of Grugan, Stephen Cannell, Oisin O'Neill, those players are top.
Do you think those involved in the game, the likes of yourself, and I say this with absolute respect, Brendan, are circling the wagons a little bit, right? And having a different conversation to what the general public is?
Well, I don't know what conversation they're having because there was nobody there yesterday supporting Donegal. So
and you're upset about that?
There's another thing. Well, I'm a bit disappointed, with the crowd that came the last couple of days. But then, Greg, I couldn't blame them after the Ulster final because it was so poor. But the Donegal fans, particularly in that first half, would have actually loved that, what was happening there from a football perspective. You've seen a game start to happen. It just then Armagh took over so much. It was hard. It was very difficult for you to be a Donegal fan in the second half. But we've seen glimpses of what we can do. We have individual brilliance in our team, Greg. Armagh and Derry played like two very together, cohesive teams.
Credit to them too.
We play in fits and starts, Greg, and we don't have that cohesion that those teams have.
And we've no right to victories either. I mean, we have to give the opposition credit where it's due as well, because they
were top class yesterday. Listen, look at it now, Greg. The balance of power is switching. Derry now beat the 3 big teams in Ulster, the 3 Division 1 teams that were Ulster dominating. Derry beat the 3 of them. Now Armagh beat 2 of them, in us and Tyrone. So you'd have to say those 5 matches were all well deserved. Greg, so you'd have to say Armagh and Derry are certainly, and what they're doing, are on the way up. And at the minute, big question mark over where Donegal's at, big question marks over Monaghan's at. And like Tyrone, what happened to Tyrone this year? So it's not as if we're the only ones in this boat, you know.
Armagh will go in as favourites against Galway. That'll be a good game. Would you agree?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a draw they would have been happy with.
Derry versus Clare. Clare were involved in an excellent game at the weekend.
Yeah, smash and grab. They were 5 points down with a couple of minutes to go. Greg, there's something about Clare, real plucky side. You really love them in Championship. They're a never say die team. So the game will change now very much, Greg, when it goes to Croke Park. But I think that'll suit a team like Armagh. I think they'll revel in Croke Park, not so much Derry. I think it could hamper Derry's progress getting into a big, fast-playing pitch if they play that defensive. But certainly, the way Armagh played yesterday in terms of going for a team, that'll suit a game in Croke Park.
Well, look, the DL debate's going to be very interesting this evening, as it always is. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. It's interesting in that there's an interesting, as I said about the conversations going on. It'll be interesting to hear how aligned the conversation that you have this evening is to sort of, the type of stuff people are saying as well. Do you get where I'm coming from there?
And I mean, it's very easy just to say, tactics, or we should have did this or should have did that. At the end of the day, we were completely outplayed by Armagh after that for opening 20 minutes. So sometimes that happens in football. The problem is with Donegal, I think, because of the manner of the poor Ulster final game and defeat, it's left a bit of a cloud was hanging over us. And I think you've seen a bit of a spark. You've seen Michael Murphy was pumped up. A lot of criticism came at Donegal. And they did give it their all in that first half. But as I say, physically, Armagh just clamped us in. And how you deal with that, Greg, you've got to fight power with power. We hadn't got enough power yesterday, and I think that's what it's coming down to.
All right, listen, brilliant stuff. The show's on after the 7 o'clock news this evening.
It is Aaron Kieran, Kevin Cassidy, Keith Dugan of the Irish Times, and of course our own Mo O'Donnell. Donegal ladies, of course, winning. They flew the flag for us, beating Waterford.
Bit squeaky bum time towards the end, but not a bad game of football.
That's it. We were 6 points up, and they came back, and so fair play to Maximum. Another tough trip. They're playing Cork in the second group game this week, so we have Maureen O'Donnell on as well to give us our views on that, and they will continue to keep the championship flag flying for us, Greg.
Keep DL debate on air. So the club championship, actually it'd be interesting to see what the impact of there's a few teams will be glad to have their players back.
See, if we start talking club championship now, we've already in a bit of a negative here.
Come on, let's get out of here.
This the club championship. If somebody happens to score more than 10 points, we'll be happy in a game. There's been a few dodgy league games coming in, Greg, so I'm hoping that our club football is actually very representative of what's happening. Club teams need to get out and play here, Greg. And at the end of the day, the damning indictment, our senior, junior and intermediate finals last year, the losing teams had a combined total of 12 points. So club football in Donegal there needs to be a mini revolution, and their teams need to start to play, because this is affecting everything, and people are switching off.
Some might think though that you're quick to comment on the club setup, but not so much the Donegal setup.
Well, you see, I'm not saying Donegal didn't have a go yesterday. I mean, they still posted. Listen, did you see some of them league results coming through there, Greg? I mean, Unions and Kilcara, two of our top teams the other week. I mean,
I get where you're coming from.
It's unbelievable what's happening there, Greg. So listen, that's right. A generalisation on the whole club championship. If we're talking about Donegal, listen, we were beat by a better side yesterday, but there's a lot of head scratching figuring out how we lost by that much, Greg. Seeing as we beat them by 7, we then lost by 10. Armagh
there comes a point in the game though where it's out of your reach.
Yeah,
and then
the goals killed us.
Yeah, exactly.
The goals killed us, and we never looked really like scoring a goal. And I think that was probably a big marker. But any of that, Greg, is small in terms of the general vibe of the game. Armagh took over, and we weren't able to cope with them.
We'll hear you just after 7. Thanks, Brendan.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP room, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Prep for your best you this summer with Clarins at McElhenny's. Choose 3 deluxe size complimentary beauty treats with the purchase of 2 or more Clarins products, 1 to be a moisturiser or serum. Plus, take home 2 makeup must-haves with a 3rd purchase. Available at McElhenny's in-store or online until June 25th.
Shane Connolly Car Sales has relocated to Drumlonagher, Donegal town. Besides offering quality used cars, we have a brand new state-of-the-art workshop for all your car service needs. At Shane Connolly Car Sales, we deliver straight to your door and offer excellent finance packages. Check out our social platforms or visit ShaneConnollyCarsales.com.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnford. Doors open 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €5,650 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Okay, we're joined in studio now by Angela Tourish, Centre Manager, former Centre Manager of ICARE. Angela, thank you very much for coming in to us.
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it. And I suppose thank you for, on behalf of all of those that you've helped for all your service over the years.
Well, I suppose I did it for my own ends as well. It started off because my daughter was diagnosed with autism, and there were other parents in the area who didn't have any help or services. So we grouped together and we formed ICARE.
Which is amazing because you knew yourself the gap was there, and yet whilst you were doing everything you had to do as a parent, felt the need to get together with others to fill it.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's a constant journey, isn't it? You don't just establish it and then, right, we've done that.
No.
Talk to us about what ICARE was when it was first created.
We grouped together in the year 2000, and there were 8 or 9 families back then, and we worked closely with our local Scoil Isagon and the principal Sinead McLaughlin, and we helped, I suppose, establish autism classes in the school. And she would tell you that she had no funding to do that. So we were working closely with her, setting up the autism classes and providing her with maybe extra services for those classes that she otherwise wouldn't have had. Maybe therapies coming in, and she was open to everything that we could sort of try. She was very open to let us try things. And we were so lucky to have a brilliant teacher as well, Doreen Friel, who was paramount in establishing the autism classes in the school. And we were very lucky in that respect.
Yeah. And you could see the progress in the schools. But then there came a point then outside of school and there was a vacuum there.
There was a vacuum in the fact that our children couldn't go to a youth club after school, or they didn't have play activities. So we established an activity centre then with the help of Inishowen Partnership, who gave us some funding. Plus I tackled my brother Kieran, who did a concert for us.
Alton fame, isn't it?
Yeah. And they did a concert for us, which enabled us to buy some soft play equipment. And then the youth club let us use their premises to house all the stuff. And then we were lucky the GAA after that let us use their premises for maybe 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
But it got to the stage that we needed somewhere ourselves. And there was a car park that was there vacant from Fruit of the Loom times, and I approached George McLaughlin, who's now one of our directors, and he let us plonk 3 big prefabs on it, which are still there to this day, and it has just grown since
Like
then.
it was 8 families to begin with, then 50, now over 100. And you talked about the progression. That was because of the success, the demand that was needed, and say, hold on, we need to do more, we need to do more. And yet before all of this, there was nothing, very little.
Yeah, exactly.
Funding has always been a challenge, hasn't it? Which I can never understand, because the money involved to support ICARE, significant, is pittance. It's absolute pittance. And yet annually there's always this, as if there wasn't enough to be done, caring for your own families, putting these facilities in place. It then fell on another small group of individuals to try and keep them going through fundraising and going back to the same well of the local community. And that well never ran dry.
Never. Our local community have sustained us through the whole procedure. They have been fabulous. We've had brilliant volunteers who've helped us through the whole thing. And still to this day, they dig deep. People do events for us. Even during COVID, we had 2 fellas cycled in 24 hours from Mizzen to Malin and raised nearly €15,000.
Amazing.
You just can't quantify how good our local community have been, only for them.
Only for you.
No, I wouldn't say that, no.
Well, it was you set the ball. You set the ball rolling, and I know how much the local community and wider community think of you and what you've done. What is the situation with funding now? Has anything improved in that regard in terms of the HSC seeing the fantastic work that ICARE do, filling the gaps it's left itself? Is funding still an issue?
It has improved. Funding from the HSE has definitely improved.
Good.
But it's still not enough, to sustain us for a year. But I suppose COVID too has stopped the fundraising a wee bit. But hopefully now again, to be able to keep things going.
How tough a decision has it been for you to step away, Angela?
I think it has been very tough because I loved my work, but my health sort of took a downturn 2 years ago, and stress was the main reason for that, and I've had to just step back.
Trying to keep so many balls in the air.
Yeah.
All right, and are you finished up with ICARE now in your official capacity?
Yeah.
And how long's that been for?
Just nearly 2 weeks.
How's that been? How's that been for
Well,
you?
I retire on the 31st of May, and then we had an event on the 3rd of June. We opened a lovely sensory garden that Donegal County Council funded. So I was sort of involved in that. So I suppose this week and maybe the end of last week has been the first few days that I haven't had to think too much.
Do you feel less stressed?
Maybe I will in time.
Because there's a responsibility on you, isn't there? Because you're such an integral part of this, Angela, that you feel, well, if I step away, will other people maybe consider? Because I've spoken to people involved with ICARE and others, and it's intense and it's constant and there's no respite. It feels like there isn't. So you give it 100's not enough. You have to give 150% to it. And it's not a lot of people that we're talking about here.
No, I know. I hope other parents will step up and help.
Yeah. And do you think that needs to happen? It has to happen, doesn't it?
Sometimes I think, like when we set it up, there was no precedent for us receiving a service, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But parents are now bringing their children with an already established service, and maybe don't realise the work that went into setting it up, and maybe the work that's needed to keep it going. So maybe they're unaware of how much is needed to be done. So maybe they might try and help a bit more.
Do you see a future where the likes of the HSC goes, right, we can see what's happening here. It's a proven model. It works. We should be doing this. And they take over, run and fund this type of work in communities? Or do you think there will always have to be a space for the likes of your ICAREs and your Blue Stags?
I can't see that the HSE will do it. From what I can hear from parents, even generally, services are worse than they were when we were in our younger years.
I mean, that's worrying. It's a terrible indictment of our system, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's not just in the work that ICARE do. There's so many other areas, even caring, whereby there is this expectation that the public will do the work that the state or its arms aren't doing. You know?
Even for services, for assessments and for speech therapy, OT, physio, all those services, they have diminished so much.
Yeah, and you hear individual stories of what people are going through, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And it's individuals, but there's hundreds and thousands of families that need supports that they're not getting, even though if you looked on paper, they're there, but you can't get them and you can't access them. What do you plan to do with the more time that you have? Is it just to regroup and recharge the batteries, Angela, or...?
I have to rest. I've been told by doctors that I have to rest and try and not do too much. I can't see myself being idle.
I was going to say, you say that as if to say, yeah, in case the doctor's listening. No problem, I will do that. But it's tough for you too, isn't it? Because you've a lot going on outside of the ICARE work was on top of everything else that you deal with, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I'm still living with somebody with autism at home.
Yeah.
Which is not an easy task either.
That's Orla, isn't it? Obviously, yeah. Okay. And how is Orla now?
She's great. She's good. She's in a great day service. We established iAdult, which is the adult day service side of ICARE. And it's going fantastic.
Again, though, through the initial idea to right where we are now, what would be there for Orla if you hadn't established it yourselves?
Absolutely. Well, I had to take her out of a HSE service a few years back because it was totally unsuitable. So this is going really, really well. There's 6 adults in it now and more to come in September.
Well, Anja, I'm sure I can, without fear of contradiction, on behalf of all of the families that you've helped and are helping over that through the establishment of ICARE and all your efforts and everything you've done through the fundraising, through the sports, whatever, to thank you for everything you've done over the years, and best of luck with the extra time that you might have.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all your help as well.
No, well, compared to I've done very, very little.
You've done a lot of campaigning for us and a lot of publicity, which was much needed at the time.
Well, anything I can do, I will. And Andrea, thanks for calling in, and again, thanks again for everything that you've done, and enjoy the extra time that you have. Although I've just this feeling you're going to find something else to do in its place. But anyway,
I probably will.
Okay. Listen, what a fantastic person, Angela Tourish, former manager of ICARE, Inishowen Autism Care Related Education. Okay, we're back with you tomorrow at 9. Enjoy the rest of your day.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town?